Welcome to Fight Night Rising, brought to you by Wisdom. My name is Khroen, and joining me, of course, is Boopasaurus. Boop, we are finally here casting. We cast PBE set 6, but this is the official set 6 launch. Gizmos and Gadgets, we are here. How you doing?
Oh, I'm feeling great, man. We got the Piltover Cup coming up this weekend, and we got 4 players participating in that,
Oh,
using
yeah.
this as a little bit of a warm-up tournament. And, we'll get into that discussion later on whether revealing strategies or waiting till the weekend would be better. But for now, we've got a pretty nice lobby, and it's all going to be so fun because this set in its current state, well, you can high roll pretty hard with some of the augments. In general, is just a blast to play. I've never had more fun losing in a set of TFT in my life.
That's true. I mean, speaking of augments, we learned yesterday, what Twitch chat likes for augments, and maybe the ones that they didn't like so much. But speaking of the players, of course, let's go ahead and introduce the players that we have. We have Jive and Thrive, Sphinx back, Piba as well back. We have Arat, TFT, New Gaming, Simon, Viagra, and Pitsy. And the 4 players who will be competing this weekend are Jive and Thrive, Sphinx, Piba, and Pitsy in the Piltover Cup. So this is, as you're mentioning, Boop, their kind of warm-up tournament. Are we going to see them full try-hard or just try some new things, maybe to add to their arsenal? There's really a lot on the table here, and it could go a lot of different ways.
Well, and this is a possibility where some of our 4 that are participating this weekend might, like you said, try a bunch of different stuff, and top 3 might not be the priority. What the priority might be, maybe I'm going to figure out what doesn't work today, because I was talking to GV8 yesterday, and he was talking about the reroll Imperial Samira build.
Yeah.
Right? And it was like, man, things are still a changing. And so what are we going to see this weekend? In 2 days, things can change. I always bring it back, Bonky Kong, right? It was meta for literally 3 days, and we never really saw it again.
That is so true. I mean, things are definitely changing. It always happens beginning of the set. But what's not changing? It's gonna be the rising prize pool. That is still $200, of course. $100 of which goes to first, second place earning 50, third and fourth earning $25 apiece, and top 3 do get invited back. But yeah, maybe this is more so just about the learning, and maybe not so much about the top 3. You can still get invited back to Fight Night Rising in the future, even if you don't even if you don't top 3. Although, won't see you for a bit. But the meta is shifting, as you mentioned. I myself, if have played not a lot, but I've started playing that Samira reroll composition the past couple of days, and it's pretty fun, honestly. And that just goes to show you, right? Like, there's still obviously, I think, a lot of compositions that are not discovered yet, or at least very
Totally.
unpopular. And who's going to, break the meta? Who's going to be the one that finds it first? And I mean, having a cup that has as high stakes like Piltover Cup this early on into a set is super interesting, and really awards, though, it's thematic. It rewards the innovators, right? That people are able to find those compositions first.
I totally agree. And the other thing about it is, if you qualify for mid-set from this weekend, you're going to be able to watch everyone else play from here on out. And that could be a huge advantage. So for someone like Jive and Thrive, who is going to be participating this weekend, this could be a really great way to scout out a couple other players. But again, how much of your hand are you going to show? Right? I used to cast a first-person shooter back in the day, and it was notorious that no one wanted to get streamed because no one wanted to show their strategies off. And in my mind, I was like, we're all playing goats, so I don't know what I don't know what the strategy is, but they were so concerned of just showing anything to their opponent for an advantage that they avoided that stuff. So here, I would probably go a little crazy if I was a part of the Piltover Cup crew, or I'd take notes on what other people are playing, because to have also 4 people who aren't, that kind of variable is going to be really nice kind of environment that will mimic what they're going to have this weekend as well.
Definitely taking notes of the players who are playing in their lobby, I think, is super important, because Piltover Cup is, a ton of players, right? So it's going to be hard to, track everybody, but you can track some of the players you can be playing with. Of course, players do that in fight nights in preparation for those at times. And Jive and Thrive, I mean, we're going to see exactly what he's going to be landing on here. For the early game, the first augments are Socialite Heart, Arcanist, or Twin Shot. And I mean, a couple of these lock into very specific directions, right, with the Twin Shot and the Arcanist, but Socialite's been the most flexible one, and Jive and Thrive gets to see first, where the Socialite Hex is going to be, and it is third row. Not a bad spot for backline carries or things like, Urgot, even Samir, like we were talking about. That's a pretty good Hex for her.
Oh, for sure. Especially since it's in the corner, you're going to be able to get some distance. For example, like you said, Urgot, auto attack range, 3 hexes, third
Yep.
row. It's perfect for that front line until you get Urgot 2, because Urgot 1, I think, is an ultimate generator, to be honest with you, for your opponent. But this is really nice because if you lock in something like what we saw there, I think it was Arcanist or something,
Yeah, Arcanist or Twin Shot,
then you're stuck, right? You're going to need at least to get that splash too. You can play the Samira build with that because of Swain, but at the end of the day, this is going to provide you a lot more opportunity. The lane here is much wider with a lot more branches. The tree with the other choices is much more bare.
Yeah, definitely. Early game, Jive and Thrive, maybe looking for some innovator. Not gonna hit it though. No Zillion nor Heimer at this point. Jive and Thrive did not pre-level. Could maybe have, but decided not to. But we do have Viagra, who does have Innovator on the board with an Innovator heart.
I wonder who Agra is, and why are we saying bye?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that like a Greek god or something? Bye.
Honestly,
Space Agra, right? Yeah. Anyway, enough about Viagra and more about what we're seeing on the board. We do have the Innovator here. This is pretty early Innovator. Anytime you get a 3 splash, a 2-1, you're probably going to win streak a little bit. But what we're seeing on the other side is probably something we're going to see a lot of this weekend, which is good old Camille, who got a little bit of a nerf. Some people thought, I remember seeing some people thought originally that it was a little too high, but Zillion, great early game unit. It's mad good CC for the early game, especially when there's only 4 units on the field. But that Camille is going to be dangerous a little later on. Really great item carrier, especially if you're going to go the challenger direction.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, even before Camille got nerfed, I myself was definitely a Camille abuser. You kind of just like slap any items onto her, be them tanky. And AP items she actually used really well because her AP scaling was kind of bonkers, and she just seemed to live forever. Kind of like that last fight, but you know, as you mentioned, Reinnovator very, very early. Viagra is able to take that out. Does slam the IE. Last fight was a bit apprehensive too, but decides that they do want a win streak from this position.
And I think that's a really good idea. What I like to say is when you start to win streak, you're running a race, right? You're going to pace the rest of the field, and you're going to need to invest, just like a runner would invest energy into pacing the rest of the field. You're going to need to invest in economy this way. So you're going to be pushing levels maybe a little sooner rather than later, as we almost have deja vu happening here against Jive and Thrive. But yeah, we're pacing the field now, but how long can we stay in front? Because the hard part here is once we hit level 7 and we continue rolling, sometimes we don't hit, and we have no money, and we're at level 7 with tier 1 units. But it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case here because last time you 100-0'd me, it was because of this guy, Trundle.
That is true. Trundle is a pretty good unit, especially a Trundle 2 this early. Have scraps, you can place the belt on there. It's not an amazing Trundle component, but still just a free item is going to be fantastic. No bruiser, right? So these units are going to be a little bit less tanky until we can reach level 5. But this is a fantastic start, and certainly one that can streak at 100 HP until at least Krugs, if not further.
And you're going to really want to push to Krugs, especially since you're investing all of your items right now. And the early game is so interesting now because I feel like in past sets, once you kind of figured it out, right? You were going through the motions. It was a little bit more like a ballroom dance. Right now, the early game can be a bunch of different dances. Right, we got hip hop over here, we got lyrical over here, and what that means is again different types of aggressiveness, different types of tanking. Right, that people like Arat and Jive and Thrive might be doing right now. Is Viagra going to be sitting at 96 HP? Did lose out on that one and losing the third round, losing the third round or winning the third round after streaking is awful. Whatever happens in the second round is, in my opinion, what you want to do to Krugs if you can. So this is not the best opportunity, but we're at 96. We've already invested some money, so now hopefully that investment will help us get back on the horse.
Yeah, I jinxed a little bit there for Viagra. Did run into a player with I believe a Sunfire Singe plus 2 target dummies in the front line, and those are really, really good. The target dummy augment does, I think it's phony frontline. It does scale super well into the late game. Just always more frontline. You're always gonna be able to utilize, right? And we saw the value that it had even in just the early game. So moving on over to Simon. we see that Simon also has a Trundle too. This game looks a very high roll, Boop, but Simon, the late player at 100 HP, looking, of course, to maintain that. Okay, I was gonna say I wouldn't mind the Bloodthirster Slam, but of course, since that we're running Scrap, we don't need to. It's just gonna make a good item. We can consider it later, though, especially with Yone in mind, and Yone Academy, of course, is kind of on everyone's radar as a composition that if you hit the right pieces for it, hit an Academy, spat, Academy emblem, you definitely want to go that direction.
You'll put it on Fiora. So question for you, Khroen, as we kind of talk about, because we're going to see Yone in this lobby. Yeah. RFC or Rageblade, my friend?
I think Rageblade, actually. The build that I've seen a lot of players run that I've been liking personally as well is like Rageblade, or excuse me, Runan's GA +1. That can be a Rageblade, can make a Last Whisper. It's kind of lobby dependent. But I think we had the discussion before that RFC kind of takes place of a defensive item because you don't have to, frontline with your melee units. But I think GA is actually a lot better for the Yone. Like when he gets a challenger proc, he's going to dash towards target anyway. And the fights are just so fast that if you're not bursted down, I think he just wins with that, just flat damage from whatever other item you're having.
And eventually he just attacks too quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter. So that's why with the Rageblade, you just get to your max point a little faster. So it's kind of like, it reminds me of Jax in previous sets when sometimes you would, add the QSS versus a third damage item. Right? Like, are you going to go full damage, or are you going to be a little bit more conservative? And that would come down to playstyle sometimes. But more about what we're seeing here. Good roll for the Trundle. This should be pretty easy overall for this team. So even though we did lose, Semini trying to turn into Money here at the top of the leaderboard as we go into the Krug round with no one streaking into it. We do have one person on fire, but everyone has lost at least one round into Krugs, which is actually moderately rare.
Yeah, especially with Trundle 2s, right? Like, not often are players Trundle 2 going to be losing in stage 2, but, we had a couple of times. And we do actually get to see players running the overlay for the matchmaking tracker. It is allowed when you're playing solo queue, and it is allowed for even the Piltover Cup as well. So get to see the next 3 matchups that Simon can run into are Pitsy, Jive and Thrive, and Viagra. So just so you guys know.
Just going to throw my hat in the ring on my opinions on that. All that information is available to you on the screen anyway.
Yep.
So it's just helping you get rid of some of the unnecessary context. Really great training tool just in general. You're a true master, though, if you don't have to use it. In my opinion. But
players have been keeping track of it for as long as players have known the matchmaking formula, right? It's just I can't face the last 4 players. There's 3 players that I can always face, Yeah. But it just does it for you.
Just my 2 cents, maybe $5 there, as we go over to a rat right now. And a rat not playing the rats. Currently, no rats for a rat. We do have a rat on the board, but we're going syndicates, and we have another item that pops up in the early game relentlessly at this point, something to use your Negatron cloak for, which is that Ionic Spark. It seems like if you have it, throw it on.
Cloaks are actually pretty good this set.
Yo, have you seen the stats on Shroud of Stillness?
I've not, no.
It's nuts. I mean, it's the highest win rate item in the game, and it actually has a pretty good sample size.
Really? Wow.
Yep.
Shroud, interesting. Okay. Yeah. Ionic Spark, I know, you use Cloaks a lot in the set for, Ionic Spark Slam in the early game, then Runans, of course, is a fantastic item between Yone and Urgot, and even like Jinx as well if you're going to be running a 5-cost carry. Even, Declaw Slams are not bad in some lobbies if there's multiple AP players, so... Cloaks are not the cloaks of old. You don't just want to be dismissing them instantaneously.
I mean, even Runans too, right? Like a standard cloak item, like they're still standard on some of those units. Like Runans on Urgot is nuts. The fact that he can use it is crazy to me. That's just so much damage, like, especially at tier 2. Yeah, exactly. And so cloaks. I think tiers might actually be a little harder to use than cloaks right now, but that's just me.
I agree with that actually. Especially because blue buff is like a fake item right now, right? Like the only units that can really use blue buff are like Malzahar and like Katarina. Maybe I'm forgetting one, but definitely not as much blue buff value as in previous sets.
Yeah, Archangels is a little niche-y.
Yeah.
That's a weird
word.
Niche. Yeah, it's niche-y.
That's a good word.
So gross. It's like moist. Anyway, but other items like Ionic Spark will work in every comp, right? Some things that I've also been seeing pop up are people starting to put shivs on things. Same thing with Shroud of Stillness, because there are some units, especially in the late game, that use a ton of mana as we pick up Woodland Charm here. So it looks like it's going to be the Darius in the front line, potentially the Zyra. It's going to be the Darius with the belt, to mimic themselves. But what I was saying is there's so much mana in the game when it comes to late game units. I think the number one is Victor. You shroud that Victor. There is a point that Victor's not going to ult if your positioning is good. So just like most sets, definitely lean into some of those more not as fancy, but more sturdy items like the Shrouds, like the Zeeks, like the Zephyrs. It still rings true just like in the other sets.
Definitely. Victor notoriously does not get the cast off in a lot of fights. You need like a Shojin plus more, it feels like, to even get Victor to cast. It's kind of insane, just the prerequisites that you seem to need to run a Victor composition. But I'm interested about the Woodland augment choice here for Erat, given the fact that Thrill of the Hunt was there. I mean, I guess Thrill of the Hunt's gonna be like a bit less value for AP composition, still decent, right? But really just wants the value right now of extra frontline. With the frontline, even with Darius 2 and Leona is already decent. So I'm kind of curious. I know a lot of players probably wouldn't have made that same decision.
Yeah, I think Thrill of the Hunt for Malzahar is really nice. Specifically, anyone who can do like single target damage like that and kind of pace the Thrill of the Hunt bonus as you go is really nice. Like, I was thinking the other day, if Thrill of the Hunt existed when Jax was ever in the game, could you imagine? But like, what we got to see there is there are a couple comps in the late game that have pretty flimsy front lines. Snipers, I think, would be pretty good there. And some of the bigger tanks require 2 spots, like the Colossus. So getting the ability to get kind of a free neutral tank in the front line just to take 1 or 2 auto attacks and some pressure away from your back line at this particular point in the game will find the most value.
Definitely true. I'm also going to get a lot of value. There's 5 Mercenary on Pitsy's board as well. This is going to shape up to be pretty big, I imagine, especially because the Gangplank 2 is already there. It doesn't really have damage items right now, but even still...
Doesn't need it.
Does not need it. Rears are coming in, even more HP.
Ooh, Mercenary Jinx, and anytime you can spat a unit with 3 synergies, it's going to mean that the late game is going to be real fun for you. And we probably have one of the best... like, I think a lot of people in lower ranks undervalue this unit for some reason. I don't ever see them really invest in it, but this Misfortune is very strong.
Oh, yeah.
In general, very good unit. Early access to AoE, which you don't really have in any other 3-cost units, I think.
Yeah,
because they're... Yeah.
I was going to say, just with the very high just base damage, right? It's kind of like... I feel like we talked about that for a unit previous sets, just the high base damage. I don't remember exactly what unit it was.
Kindred.
But... Oh, yeah, it was.
Yep.
It was. Exactly. You remembered. Thank you. But yeah, MF is kind of... I mean, not similar because, you know, she does the AoE, but...
she's gonna kill
still
somebody.
Decent, yeah.
Like, she's gonna take someone down.
Was around win? It is. Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of early cash out. Probably not...
Intended.
Yeah, not intended, but... Get to see what's going to come out of these boxes.
Got some gold.
Units
got
and
a
TG.
Thief's Gloves. All right, so I wonder where the TG is going to end up going, because Mercenaries are actually really nice with the Thief's Gloves. Some of them can use a lot of different versions of it, as that's not that great of a roll. That's going to be the tankiest Quinn you've ever seen in your life. Quinn probably... It's so funny, because Quinn's probably like the best Jinx counter in the game, in my opinion. But you never know it. I don't feel like she makes it to the end of the game that often. But 5 Mercenaries against this Innovator board that has some bears now is going to be next up on the plate, as Mr. Agra, who's saying goodbye, is going to be the opponent.
Oh, Quinn got 2 casts off. That's the tanky Quinn, and Pitsy moved them towards the front line, and she tanked enough. It still got 2 casts. Pitsy's going to start to win streak here into the Wolves. That's, I mean... Hey, that's a good play. Bad roll, but good play regardless of, you know, after seeing it.
Well, and you're going to be any win if for a Mercenary player. Everyone else gets 1 gold, right? Maybe unless they got the augment that drops. Mercenaries can drop a gold. Or they just play Gangplank, right? But at the end of the day, most people are going to get 1 gold. But your mercenary player, if you're win streaking, you're going to get 2 to 3 potentially every single round, and that will start to snowball for you. So the fact that we were at level 6 over 50 gold already, we really want to start winning out, because starting a loose streak now I don't think is going to be worth it. But mercenaries are good, so anything can happen as we go over to Piba, who is one of the most entertaining TFT players that you can ask for.
Absolutely love watching Piba play. You basically already know he is going to be fast level 8, rolling it down, finding legendaries, and playing the Piba composition. And I actually really like these item slams as well. Like, he says, you know what, I'm just going to slam a Shroud right now. I'm not going to greed for anything like, you know, a Bramble, anything like that. You were talking about how Shroud has such an insane, you know, such insane stats, insane win ratio. And I think Piba can maybe start the win streak with this. This GP will certainly has a lot of potential to farm a lot of gold, and the MF as well. MF's going to be doing a lot of damage as Archangels is MF2. Like, look at that first ultimate; it was insane.
So because of the Shroud, Janna, who ults the whole board, by the way, everyone. I'm just gonna say that every time I talk about Janna, because I'm still taken aback by that fact. But was dead because of the Shroud. It was almost exactly the Shroud's difference in mana for Janna, and if she was able to push everyone back, she kind of resets the board, right? So things might have gone a little bit differently, but at 76 HP, we got a free spat as well. We might not use it, but oh, that was someone else. So as we go back to Piba's board, it's just the Nikos.
Yep, Nikos get some gold, is going to level to 7 right now, and probably just play the Taric, I'd imagine, for Socialite. You can put the Gangplank there. It's not terrible. He's gonna, you know, spend an extra second walking up, but that's fine, right? It's gonna be more likely for him to farm some gold now. Twin Shot can proc, and he can shoot twice, and so it's kind of the old GP one too. Oh, decide not to do it though. Puts the MF there instead.
Yeah, and that's just going to be damage for the MF, but wow, that's already a Tom Kench with a mutant spat. Didn't quite see what the mutant synergy was. We might be able to see through. So it is not the Dark Star one, so it's not Synaptic Web. It looks like... I think it might be the health and mana, the health one with the cybernetic, maybe?
Maybe. I know players really love to play Mutant when it is going to be the kind of Elderwood variant, as a lot of players call it. It's the one where you have stacking, you know, AD, AP, and then MR and armor over time, over the course of the combat. Might be that. We'll have to get some confirmation soon, hopefully.
And I actually love this Graves in the front line. We have an Academy Splash, which is going to make the rest of the team better. Leona, great unit, one of the best tanks, especially as a 3 cost. Really good stuff. But yeah, this Shroud, I think, is getting that value, along with the Ionic Spark and the Blind. This Graves is kind of a utility tank, off-tank bruiser in the front line right now.
I mean, this ultimate's going to be big from Graves. He's going to disarm, like, what, 4 or 5 units there? And has the Shroud value and Spark value? This Graves is nuts.
Yeah, this Janna... Again, if this Janna ulted earlier, right, that heal may have been able to reset the board. So, again, any type of delay on ultimate and any type of delay on what's expected is going to cause, you know, what is it? Every reaction causes an equal and opposite reaction, right? Same thing in TFT. So you always have to think about what the other side of the seesaw might actually be weighing.
Exactly. I think... In Piba's case here, right, it's gonna be really good, because even though Piba's kind of chaining win-loss, he's still maintaining a decent amount of HP, so he can still go level 8 on like 5-1 or 5-2, have decent HP and roll for the board that he wants. Maybe it's going to be Jinx with these items. I'll have to see. It doesn't quite have to be. I think Piba has a couple of different options. He might have gotten extra components with the Mercenary earlier, because I think he did cash out like a 3 or 4 lost streak Mercenary thing earlier. But we'll see. In first place, however, it's going to be New Gaming with 5 Chemtech right now.
Yeah, I think our friend is in New York, maybe at the good old NYU. Purple. Maybe. I think it's purple and gold, purple and white for their school colors. I know purple's on it. I had a lot of friends who were much more talented than me go there. As we got a really, really nice roll down here. We got the Jinx in, and anytime you're already running with the Urgot, that's a great combo of units there. You've got backline axes with Jinx after the ult. The front line's going to be a little bit less foundational for the rest of the team because there's just not going to be as much health. So once Jinx falls down, starts burning, everyone's potentially already going to be close to dying, and all you're going to need is a couple execute auto attacks, especially with this Hurricane. Good roll there on the scrap.
Very good roll. I was going to say, we even have an extra bow to be able to run this scrap, right? Obviously, optimally, New wants the cloak for the Urgot, but even just with the vest on the bench, making a Titan's Urgot isn't going to be terrible. The Jinx didn't really do much there, but the Urgot's going to clean up.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, at the end of the
she
round,
did a decent amount.
Yeah, and the reasoning is it all happened at once. So anytime you have AoE burn damage, I'm sure you probably know this from a character named Lunara in another game. It's kind of fake damage on the chart. So because that damage is so spread around, all of those instances get kind of piled on top of each other. But Jinx did get absolutely destroyed. She literally ate rockets there for dinner against the Heimerdinger, who seems to be a really good way of dealing with that Jinx every time I see it. True. As this one already has chemical overload, so we can even get higher HP, which is going to make chemical overload even better.
That's true. That's a really good thing to factor into this decision. And what is it going to be? I mean, I think there are arguments for both the Cybernetics and the Celestial Blessing. Cybernetic might, however, be the pick here? No, it's not. It's going to be Celestial Blessing, going to be the healing, which I honestly, I don't really think was super necessary. There is the Hodge already on the Urgot. Maybe if there wasn't a Hodge, I could see a bit more reasoning there. But either way, it's going to be a decision for NYU. See if it works out.
Yeah, I think this might be... Yeah, it looks like our mutants in the backline are growing as time goes on. So, yeah, this... Wow, that was like no damage at all going in after that Janna ult. And again, look how consequential that Janna ult is when you're able to do it. As this Urgot going to go ahead and give Cho'Gath another stack. And the explosion does nothing. Maybe if we had a little bit more health, we might be able to get 1 or 2 more units off the board there. So, you know... There are some augments like what we just saw, the Celestial Blessing, that are going to be good everywhere, right? And I think those exist just in case you do bonk a roll, and at least you have something that's going to benefit you, especially in the late game. But that little bit of extra health, right? When power levels can get so high in this set, you want to, in my opinion, if you're trying to 1st or 8th, you got to push those power levels, and I don't think we saw that in that last round.
No, I don't think so either. We did see Pitsy actually go out even before the Raptors, unfortunately, here in game number 1. Not able to stabilize there. Viagra is certainly using a lot of HP. Now is level 8, of course, 50 gold, trying to roll down. Might pivot over into Jhin. Not a carry that we see most commonly, but still one that I think can do very, very well. Even finds a random kind of like Mundo too, which isn't always the front line that you know consider with the Jhin, but it still can work. Let's see what Viagra decides to do. Looking a little bit dizzy here.
Yeah, we're definitely dizzy. We're on the tilt whirl.
Yeah.
There's no other sniper, but okay, we'll see.
I mean, that's okay. I don't think it's like the most egregious misplay. Jhin is still going to be doing insane damage if the front line can survive. I mean, Jhin needs to ult as well. But Mundo's going to be super tanky. So Jhin might be able to clean up here. Oh, he's lining him up. Roll the hunt as well for the healing.
Yone with the GAIE Giant Slayer. I really don't think people have... I think there's just so many teams right now on what the best AD itemization is, right? Because we've got, this one seems a little tacked on, which is the Last Whisper, IE Giant Slayer. You usually don't see Last Whisper and Giant Slayer together, but there is a lot of health. You're seeing it in the front line here. Once that Braum 2 does come online, that's going to be a really great ult, but we only have the Innovator 3, and this is what I'm talking about with Woodland, which can be really nice sometimes, which is, it might kind of feel like there's a good front line here, but that Braum's pretty flimsy, and it's really up to that Mundo. So eventually, once we get to round 5-4, right, it might not be enough, but just kind of referencing back why you might choose Woodlands there in this situation. And this setup, not very good for Jhin. You want to get everyone set up in the other corner. So max, we're going to get 2 or 3 people as Viagra is going to almost fall out in 7th place. Yeah,
it does survive for now. It really does seem like Viagra is getting heavily baited by trying to get the most value possible out of this innovator heart, but I don't think you need to. Like, you can use an augment just for this early game, value, and pivot out of it. It feels bad, it feels awkward, but if it's gonna stunlock you to kind of be in like this kind of spot, it's just not gonna be worth it. And now Viagra might be trying to go to 5 innovator again. And I mean, okay, I mean with the Jace, I guess it's not gonna be as bad. The bear is going to be really good frontline. It's going to buff up the team. But not take any time to scout, like, on the wrong side almost every single time.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. Like, Jin needs good positioning. And that's why, that's obviously why 2 snipers is a splash, right? So you can put 1 on each corner. So you can get that crossfire going. But yeah, we're stuck on the Cho'Gath here. And even though we're good, wow, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah,
that
Giant Slayer value.
Yeah,
but
that's the Giant Slayer Last Whisper there, but not enough
enough.
damage. As we have a double elimination as Jive and Thrive actually falls 1 HP less than by Agra, as we say bye ourselves to Agra.
That's already 2 of the players that are going to be competing this weekend in the Piltover Cup. Pitsy and Jive and Thrive already out in 8th and then 6th for Jive and Thrive. These players, maybe they are really just trying out a lot of things, seeing what they can get away with.
Yeah, maybe
for the event.
But I would love it to be more buy aggressive. Instead of by aggro, we were a little by passive there, and we got a little by dizzy. And I think when we get a little by dizzy, sometimes we kind of like lose our way. It's like vertigo. I don't know if you've ever had it before, but some people, when they close their eyes, like the world starts spinning.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that, we kind of had vertigo there for our 7th place. We didn't really get to see Drive and Thrive, but I'm sure it was pretty similar because there are just so many choices you can make in this game. Now, before you were kind of locked in into these trees, right? Now, even from that Hextech pick, are we going to get more health and get our augments to work together, maybe power up our team, or are we going to get something more standard? And that choice presents itself a lot more frequently in this set.
Definitely does. And all right, back into game here. On perspective of Piba, see what direction Piba is going. Of course, it's going to be the fast 8. Has Sister Buff online, so there is a Jinx here. There is Nico's help on the bench, but Piba still has some components to work with and has dropped dangerously low here, Boop. Oh, the Jinx only has 1. This is classic Piba. Look at this board and tell me this is just Piba to a T.
Well, he's trying to play Piba comp right now. Okay, so that's like a super deep cut reference now. As we do get this is so Piba. I love this.
The Graves can give twin shot.
Yep.
He has the exact gold. Piba by the Graves. No, he's gonna feed. Oh, okay.
We did not need to feed the Tom there, especially with that 1 cost unit. We're gonna go ahead and put some items on. Those are good items for the Jace. And we have the Hodge again for the Orianna, which actually might help get a second ult off. But we actually saw that Cho'Gath a little earlier. The reason why it's smaller now is, I believe that was in Ghost, but Piba gets 5th after a pretty hype roll down. Unfortunately, hype roll downs don't always equal wins. They usually always equal losses, I feel like. We always see someone do something super sick, and then we're like, oh, I can't wait to see this, and they lose the next round.
Honestly, I wanted to say, what did I just watch? That sounds like kind of toxic, but like, I don't know. Piba, I understand Nicoing the Tahm Kench. I think that's correct. I think the Tahm Kench, while it is going to maybe get some kills, maybe actually save you, I think the itemization choices were a little funky, and he only had like a little bit of time to make so many decisions, right? And he was trying to find the Jinx too, trying to see, okay, where are these gangplank items going to go to? So there's a lot to do in such a short amount of time. It seemed a little unoptimal. That's okay. Honestly, Piba playstyle is very 1st or 8th, and getting a 5th when he low rolled kind of like that is not bad. Tournament, of course, not over. He can still do well later on into the day. But now we're moving over to Arad's board. And Arad has 2 Academy emblems and 1 on a Jace too.
So that's amazing. The Jace, doesn't ult that much himself, but we've got other units here that do ult pretty early on and then wait a little while for their other ults. So there's going to be really large power spike around mid-round, around like the 15-second mark here. We're going to need it because this Urgot is going to be plowing through this Yone right now. Thank goodness we've got the GA, and the Jinx does pop down. There's the Orianna ult, which is one of the best ults in the game. Too much on the Urgot, right? That was a little bit of that positioning, but not enough of that extra power by the mid-round, sorry.
Yeah. More Yones. Yone 3, potentially. I mean, only 3 away.
Only
rolling
3
for
away.
Fiora upgrade, rolling for Yuumi upgrade as well.
I think my packs are allergic to this hero. I'm not even sure Yone's in the game, personally. I don't ever get to play it, ever, even when I want to. So I'm a little jealous, not going to lie. But this is good. GA. It's so funny how it went from, like, RFC Rageblade, now we're back to GA, which everyone kind of forgot existed there for a hot second.
Yeah, that's true. GA didn't really see a lot of value, but it gets a ton of value on the Yone. It's very widely considered best in slot. There's 2 mutant emblems on the other side of the board there. I think that is Sphinx. Sphinx's board, if I do recall correctly.
Sphinxy boy.
Sphinxy boy.
Here's that Yone, but we do have the Victor ult. And now we've got this big beefy TK. TK is hungry. We actually might get an item out of this. At least some gold. This Cho'Gath
is the clone army.
Yeah, and so basically this Cho'Gath is huge. And we're seeing this Jace 2 in the front line struggle a little bit. I want Braum to be a little bit better. I think he is a good unit in certain situations, especially when you get that ult off. But no one's as tanky as some of these Chemtechs can be. And this board is probably the board I would have expected to most likely see here. This comp will probably be very common this weekend, especially if they get chemical overload. But I mean, Lissandra 3 is also a very good unit.
Yeah, I was gonna mention earlier. I was like, I don't know if maybe holding those Lissandras is a bit of a bait, but you know, here we are, a stage and a half later, and NYU does have Lissandra 3, and it's, you know, doing some decent damage actually, and is kind of one of the reasons why this fight was a win. Of course, the rest of the board is fantastic. 5 Chemtech, 4 Bruiser. This is maybe a lobby winning kind of board here once we hit maybe Jinx 2 and Tahm Kench 2. A-Rat does go down, so it is going to just be Sphinx versus NYU, both around, you know, mid 40, high 40s HP. So we're going to be here for at least a few rounds.
Yeah, and Sphinx is going to be participating this weekend as they both go for the Jinx. Wow. And Sphinx is Kiki, while large, not in charge on the carousel. Also, I think it really makes me feel weird when TK gets fed to TK, so I hope I don't see that.
We might. We definitely might.
I know, right? But we are going to potentially see this Tahm Kench give the rest of the team even more power. But we've got a Jinx 2 in the back line against an enormous Cho'Gath with double Gargoyle Stone Plate. That's an item that is notoriously stacked because you have a cloak and a chainmail left over. Always is what it feels like, but especially with the Warmogs, look at how much health that is. And seeing that there is a Giant Slayer, though, is not good news. Basically, if there was no Giant Slayer, that would spell doom. But now because there is, the Cho'Gath is not invincible in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I think, wow, the Urgot actually got eaten and taken down very, very quickly by the Tahm Kench on Sphinx's board. Wow, NYU is actually going to lose this one. The Cho'Gath did go down, and I think these rounds could go either way. Sphinx, however, taking the first one there, and that was a lock onto a double Kaisa shop.
Double Kaisa. So are we going to Kiki with Kaisa? We'll see.
Maybe was it just a deny from Sphinx, perhaps?
Sphinx does deny. I know for a fact he does. So maybe just to keep it in the pack. Yeah, so he does roll it.
Okay, rolls over it. Still needs to find Tahm Kench and Janna.
Yeah, the Janna will actually be really nice. It's peel, it's heals the whole board, remember? And we've got a Jinx to keep alive, but most importantly, this Urgot. So the TK2 is on the other side, and we're getting close to it, but the TK eats TK! Oh my goodness, cannibalism happening right in front of our eyes. Call the authorities.
Oh, Urgot's still alive over here right now, and can the Giant Slayer get through the Tahm Kench? No, it can't. It does spit out the Mundo. The Mundo is not going to be able to get through this whole board. Another loss. It looks like Sphinx with this. Oh man, the Metamorphosis mutant variant is so good. You will definitely see at least one, if not multiple players force that every single time the mutant rolls that.
The opportunity with it is just so huge. Like the mutant traits do tend to peak in power right when you need them to, right? Like every time you're like, why am I losing? You put your third mutant in and you're like, why can't I lose? And then especially with some of the traits, I really like the Dark Star trait because it's pretty.
Yeah.
Not because it's also good, but
It is good.
it is pretty as well. So whatever your aesthetic is, as we are going to deny a jinx, we already know that there is a jinx that needs to be found on the other side, as we do have the Janna 2. That's going to be a lot of healing, as we have a naked Lissandra 3 in the front line, just hanging out. You know, we're at Lissandra 3. We're going to be a little bit of a tank. Well, we, fragged 3rd or 4th the last time around, and we're CC as well. And now with that Shojins, we might actually be able to lock down some people, unless we lock down ourselves. But these first couple ults, if not on the Cho'Gath, should be pretty valuable.
Yeah, definitely. Even, seeing the Tom Kench here a little bit. I mean, he already ate a unit, but still not terrible. Urgot getting a lot of Giant Slayer value, of course, but it just can't get enough, right? There's so much damage on Sphinx's board between the Malzahar, even between the Victor. I just don't think it's going to be enough, Boop.
Yeah, and that Bruiser emblem is really good too. That's the one where everyone behind them gets some of the trait, right? That's Bodyguard. Bruiser is another one. But anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, Sphinx gets the dub there, which should make him feel good. Hopefully we don't peak too early. Right. But I always get concerned when I see that. But to summarize, Sphinx played that really well, flew a little bit under the radar, and what Sphinx likes to do is play open and flexible, and that's exactly what we got to see. He hit that Cho'Gath and saw how strong it was against the rest of the lobby. There just wasn't enough damage.
All right, and after game number 1, we do have some scores for you all. Just recap on where everyone did end. Sphinx, of course, in first place, NYU in second, Arat in third, Simon, Heba, Jive and Thrive, Viagra, and Pitsy down the line there. Still, it is just game 1, so no one is out of things yet. Sphinx, however, off to a good start. And as you mentioned, hopefully didn't peak early. And it's not even like Sphinx's comp was insane, right? He didn't hit any 3 stars of the mutants. He did have a couple of mutant emblems, right? And that certainly was very good in getting up to the 5 mutant. But it was like a Cho'Gath 2. It was a Malzahar 2 as well. It wasn't even necessarily that high roll. It's just that, Metamorphosis trait, that the Elderwood kind of variant is just so powerful.
I mean, anytime you get stats, right? Raw stats are one of the most valuable aspects of TFT, right? Like, there have been moments in League of Legends where people have gotten like their auto attack buffed 0.3 or something like that, and their jungle clear increases by like the decreases by like 3 whole seconds, right? Like it really mattered
enough
for
for
them.
It to matter.
Yeah, I remember Irelia got movement speed taken out, and like no one really thought that was going to be that big of an issue, but it ended up being an issue. So when we go into those matchups, right, you find yourself losing over and over again. The items aren't working. It feels like it's a losing prophecy. What's kind of the thing that you need to tell yourself to kind of keep yourself in the game? Do you think that Urgot could have taken that Cho'Gath down, or was it the itemization against this particular lobby that really helped Sphinx cross the finish line in the end?
Could it? I'm trying to think. I wonder what could have been enough. Maybe just making the board tankier, right? Maybe instead of running the 5 Chemtech, could have ran 3, because arguably some players say 5 Chemtech is kind of fake. I mean, just the 3 is going to be enough. And could have either played 2 Bruisers, could have used the gold from Lissandra 3 to try to even roll for like an Urgot 3. Getting to that obviously would have been enough to take on the Cho'Gath with the Giant Slayer in mind. So it's probably just, had to be different prioritizations, recognizing, okay, I'm strong enough to get to at least top 2, but I know this, Elderwood mutant player is going to be the other one, so I have to, play to my win condition, and it wasn't with that current board. It was kind of close a couple of times, but it really consistently just wasn't enough.
Totally agree. As we go into the second lobby, we're going to start off with Sphinx. We didn't get a lot of opportunities to take a look at Sphinx. Sphinx is, in my opinion, a very traditional TFT player, right? In terms of doing vanilla really well. Something I tell a lot of people that I mentor is, Ice Cream Sundays are awesome. They make really good pictures, but sometimes I don't want an ice cream sundae. I just want ice
Yeah.
cream.
Oh.
Right? As we get a Nico's here. And
Is this the run back?
Sphinx is really good at making vanilla.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm just excited to see Sphinx. He did take a little bit of a break, became a professional marble racer. But I would love to see Sphinx start adding those sprinkles, start adding that hot fudge, right? And what that means is, you know, what happens in that late game. We got to see a little bit of it there because remember, Sphinx has one of the longest fight night streaks ever, but there's not a lot of wins there. So that might need to change as we go into this weekend because it's still not, you know, kind of considered, especially on that first day. What am I going to do? Am I going to first or eighth? Am I going to do top 4? You got to understand the scoring points and everything like that as we get into our first augment card right now. We got Enchanter Heart, Ascension, and Socialite Heart. Okay choices here. Socialite Heart will work for everybody. Ascension is fun. It's the old noble trait, I believe. Or no. It was the old light trait with Vayne. From back in the day. That's what this is. Yes. So we're going to be able to see what that's going to be like, but it's going to be Enchanter here. These Enchanter comps can be really nice because that's when you can put your Oriana in and start actually doing some shenanigans with her if you want. But Enchanters are really good. They're all just good, solid units.
Yeah, it's that Joy comp, right? The Janna, Oriana, Yumi. You know, that package fits into a lot of different compositions. It's so good. With the Enchanter Heart, it's going to be even better. I don't want to say I'm really like surprised to see that. I thought it was like the less likely option. Socialite is going to be, I think, a lot of players' a choice there in that situation. But I really do like this, and being able to even get value out of it right now with the Lulu running 2 Enchanter. The items are decent for a lot of different compositions, and a Nico's help. Interesting. Interested to see where that's going to go eventually. How much do you greed the Nico's, right? That is quite the question. But running 3 Yordles right now, going to be farming up some gold with that. Maybe even taking some round wins. Depends. We have to run into some pretty weak players, though.
Well, sometimes when you see the Nico's at the beginning, it's race to your 4-cost unit. Right? And who think of Nicoverse and Galaxies, right? First time someone's thought of that probably since Galaxies. But the overarching theme was get your 4-cost unit, you know, find your second copy, Nico's it, that's your carry. That can happen here, but is also it's a win more situation too. So if you're already winning a Nico's, like if you kind of feel the win falling out of your sails a little bit, you can Nico's somebody to get a little bit of a sprint. It's like a nitro boost, right? In a racing game. So a Nico's can be really good for that. I was actually talking to Robin Songs yesterday. He thinks that Nico's is super strong right now. It can almost get you into a first just by having it.
Yeah, I mean, Nico's is super strong, especially with how I think the dynamic of a lot of lobbies is, are you going fast 8 and finding a couple copies of legendaries, or are you pressured enough to have to roll on 7 and then roll it down, you know, find 2 Yones and Nico the third to stabilize? Like in both those scenarios, Nico's is super valuable because you have such high impact stabilizing carries at both the 4 and 5 cost tier. But I definitely am inclined to agree with that very heavily.
Oh man, I love the 5-cost carries in this game right now. This game is so good right now. It's so much fun. It's so cool how universal that sentiment is as well. Right? There's usually like a negative Nancy that's like, it's actually trash. That's my gamer voice apparently.
Yeah.
Probably,
man, this game sucks.
This game's trash, man. But no one, it really just feels like everyone really enjoys it, and the things that are wrong with it, people are like, you know, actually, this can make sense why this could happen. Like all of the mistakes that you can make in this game make a lot of sense. Nice stretches though.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
some calisthenics.
Oh, like he's so slouched down in his chair, so like posture is bad, but at least he's getting some leg stretches. I love Piva.
I do too. Piva's great. I actually do a lot of that kind of sitting myself.
Oh no, posture check?
Yeah. Oh man, so bad, The tuba didn't quite help me either. The lean forward. Sphinx looks like a Yordle tree. right now. We didn't see a single Yordle player last time around. Nico's can be really nice for that. Yordles are a fun comp because you can actually win streak with it at the early game. You can lose streak with it. You can level. You can wait. You can develop economy, especially after you 3-star your 1 cost and 2 costs, and only the 3 costs pop up. And then, yeah, there's a couple different ways of doing this. But in your opinion, Khroen, what's the best way to go in that Yordle route?
Oh, okay. So I know Sox was a big advocate, at least during the PBE, that you can run, Tristana carry, and then you play like you don't even go for 6 Yordles, you just play the ones that you find, hold Ziggs on your bench, so you're farming 3 gold per round. I think they ended up changing that though, so I'm not actually super up to date on the Yordling meta, because frankly it's just not seen a lot on ladder, and definitely personally don't run it. I do still, however, think that a Yordle comp can work out if you get really good early Tristana items or Heimer items. Heimer actually does really, really well thus far. So if you get a good opener for it, get the right items, like you definitely can go that route.
I think you need the opener, though.
Yeah, you definitely need the opener.
You
need like
have
a
to have-
Heimer
Yeah.
opener, or like multiple Tristanas and like perfect Trist items. One of those.
Or like a random tier 2 vest, really, or vest Vex, really
Yeah.
early on, because again, like it's not all about just keeping, because your bench can get full, and it's awful when you have 8 copies of something, 8 copies of something, and then like 2 copies of something else, and you have to decide which direction you want to go. But yeah, Yordles can help you with your economy. Again, if you high roll, say you get your Poppy 2, your Ziggs 2 early, you put your Scrap Ezreal in, you can actually win streak part of your early game. As it seems like a lot of people are starting to utilize this Graves how I hoped he would be utilized, which is a frontline tank right now. We've seen Ionic Spark, we're seeing Morello's, there is a Giant Spell part of that item, so Graves seeing some early game fancy right now. Oh, Twitch has got this, there it is. And that is the augment, which gives you a completed item if you have 2 items on your unit already, as we're already in mercenary territory here for NYU.
And a 2/6 Yone. I mean, the items are okay, even with the Morello's already built, so you still can pivot into the Yone. Honestly, that round loss is all right, not because of the win-loss that you see the top, that's a little unfortunate, but just losing as mercenaries, of course, you can cash out some big rewards, so I'll have to check back in and see if that does make its way into a Yone pivot. For now, over to Drive and Thrive, who is also running Yordles, at least for now.
And it could be a good early game. This is like how you want to see it in the early game, pretty much. We did lose that last round, but we're not going to be losing by complete wipes. We did take a unit out there. This is going to be the Yordles, I think.
Yeah,
it's going to be up to Poppy. Misfortune. Yep, and we do get the shield, so the Yordles will take this round. And I think we've just been so used to Yordles kind of just like not great in the early game that we kind of forget that, again, I think they're really good in the early game. They can be really good in the mid game. Some of these units are just strong units. Like Tristana, with her self-peel on that ultimate, especially in the early game, can punch a lot of damage out. Might need a sniper enhancer there, but this is going to be really nice. We got a front line, we got some damage in the back line, we got some true damage with the Poppy, and this is exactly what you want to see from a team comp, right? Good front line. We got a bruiser type with Camille, and we've got a little bit of a carry in the Ziggs.
Oh yeah, definitely. Ziggs is decent. There are some items perhaps that we can consider throwing on Ziggs, at least for now. But it depends on where Drive and Thrive wants to go in the grand scheme of this game. I could see a Redemption Slam be decent as well. Just keep the offensive items completely open. Also, so the Socialite Heart was the choice for Drive and Thrive. Still a very flexible thing. It's going to be Onyx Spark. Okay, that's also very good. And the Redemption. Okay, full Poppy items. This Poppy is going to be the best early game Poppy that we will probably see tonight.
And Poppy is victim to I didn't read all of your ability a lot of the time, because she has 2 things on her that actually have some really fun tech. So Redemption, if you don't know, actually decreases damage from AoE abilities elsewhere, which isn't going to be a problem here for Mr. Agra, but then Poppy also does more damage for the more armor she has, and so with that Sunfire Cape, for example, you're actually pushing some of her damage out, as we have our first Imperial build here. Not really an Imperial build. I don't think it's like as important. It's the Samira with those items, because Samira can really take down almost anything. I saw an assassin Samira with the 3 Imperials, and she melee swiped my entire back line and killed them in one shot. So don't ever underestimate that Samira, because I think a lot of people think she sucks.
Yeah, people are starting to get onto the Samira hype train recently. And definitely a lot of notable high-level ladder players have been experimenting with it to varying success, but it is starting to get the recognition. Starting to get a big mercenary chest here is going to be Simon. 4 losses. If mercenaries are presented to you as an option in the early game, like, you should just know how to run it, and you should run it, right? Mercenaries are just so good. The value you get out of that cash out is insane. Honestly, a lot of players were talking about, oh, it might have, it maybe should have been B patched. But we'll see what the chest is going to give eventually for Simon. It's still going to be continuing those losses.
There's just not a lot of consequence in mercenaries right now, if that makes sense. Let's talk about the augments real quick. Trade sector seems like trade sector is a free shop. Sunfire board, though, especially with just how high HP is, and there's some good healing here too with units like Janna. The Sunfire board should be really nice. And again, any augment that's just going to be flat value, right, is going to be really nice. Socialite emblem, just free stats, right? This particular one that, we got Thrill of the Hunt, I think, or is that the front 2 rows one?
Yeah, Thrill of the Hunt. So that was one of the options presented to Simon there as well, but he had the tier 1 of it, so 300 health per kill, pretty solid, of course, with
especially for Gangplank.
Oh yeah, Gangplank is really good. It's super good on like Urgot and Yone too, who we have the rune heads already for. Could go either direction. Just depends on what Simon hits eventually. Sunfire board, as you're mentioning, really, really good into into Janna, into anything that has just large amount of health as well, just that burn damage over time.
And that burn damage over time only gets more valuable later we go, because the rounds can last longer. There is a caveat to that, especially with Yone comps. Yone comps can speed run some of these rounds.
Oh yeah.
But as of right now, you're going to find most of the value because we're gonna need upfront damage to really get the most out of it. We just didn't have that on our board right now. But once we do, that should be really nice. That's where like the Tahm Kench could really help out.
True. I'm still like ingrained in my mind. I'm like, oh, players are nearing 40 HP, right? It's almost Stimmy time. I need to get that out of my brain. Like, it should be by now, but I just can't. I love the mechanic, right? So I want it to remain. Simon up for a belt. No one take the spat yet. We see a player. Hey, Rat, zoom on over there. I forget what the augment name is. It's like
you get
you heal 2 every round.
Yeah, which is really good if you're playing Lost Streak comps, right? Say like because this new set, I'm gonna take an example from the old set, Assassins, right? You would literally be at like 20 to 40 HP at this point in time, right? And so when you get that eventually, right, at the end of the game, how many times? I mean, we saw Jive and Thrive and Agra separated by 1 point, right? That could technically just be a round of that augment, right? So it can increase your placement, especially in the late game if you're starting to win streak, but it only works if you get a couple wins in a row, or else you're just going to look really funny on the carousel.
Yeah, Sphinx actually rolled on 7 there and hit the Jin too, and that's going to be really nice. He does have the sniper emblem as well. It's on Oriana, but doesn't need, MF or Caitlyn or anything like that. Sphinx probably going to continue to streak here. The Smear 1's not going to be enough. Viagra forced to sell a unit on bench if they want to make econ, but the units are important enough.
I think we're going to roll here. The roll down there is going to be interesting. GV8 likes rolling on 6 for that as we get back to Psy Money. The cash out. You see what I did there?
Money.
Yeah, Psy Money right now with the Giant Slayer Zac. Zac, you think about Zac at a tier 3 unit, right? Good CC, good tank. And then you think about MF, who can kill everyone. Same unit. you know what I mean in terms of value. But the Zac here is a really good enabler. Can be really hostile to some of our damage units, especially in the second and third rows.
Yeah, honestly, okay, so that cash out from Simon wasn't that great. It was decent. Got a little bit of gold. TG's like fine, but I think it was only like a 5 or a 6 loss streak. Could have greeted until 4-1 and then rolled down and tried to cash out at that point. But even as of right now, it's going to be hard to push level 8. And then if you're rolling on 7, right, you just might not ever hit that Urgot 2. Gonna have to try to go 8, I think, from that spot. But it's hard depending on how many players are going to hit on their 4-1 or 4-2 roll downs. Viagra is still okay. I don't think it's actually going to be going that Imperial direction. Is just using Samira as an item holder right now. Oh, has IE. That's certainly going to be a slam. But then 3 rods are pretty awkward. Probably going to use a Reforger here for at least one of them, if not just slamming the death cap and reforging it, just saying I'll take literally anything else.
I think that's like 4,800 like League of Legends gold there on the bench, right? If you're buying large rods.
Rods are expensive, yeah.
But definitely the Reforger is a sight for sore eyes for sure. As this lobby is probably going to go a while. Seeing the top 2 players so far ahead of everyone else, it does look like we're going to be locked in a little bit of a 1v1 as we're starting to see the Yordles get to their tier 3 units. Jive and Thrive just picked up the Ziggs 3, so the portals will cease printing Ziggs, right? And again, if we already have the Ziggs and Poppy 3-starred, then at the least we're going to get a 2 gold unit, and it will scale from there. And sometimes, you know, you don't need to tier 3 one of those units if you don't want to get that Yordle King, as Robin said yesterday.
King. Oh, Robin was a treat to watch.
That show is so fun.
It is. It's so good. Every single time, it never disappoints.
There's always like one question that like will create something from happening. Yeah, exactly. We should all know Riot Mort's full name, which is Riot Stephen Mortimus.
Oh, Tom Kench from Agra here on level 7. It's gonna even start feeding it health already. Feeding your Tom Kench at this point can definitely be I was gonna say a bit of a bait, but honestly like a large bait, because you still need gold to roll, like to hit your units. You need to hit this just Yone 2, you need to hit the Mundo or the Urgot, right? It depends on what we want. But there's not even a Runans here for our melee carry. Death Cap, however, is good for a Fiora. Her AP scaling is still good, so you don't really need to use the Reforger for that. Still, the only 10 gold on 4-2. Not an overall in a great spot, especially if this Yone 1 is going to remain to be a Yone 1 for the rest of the stage.
For all your Zoomers in the chat, Fiora really had that ultimate back in the day. Yep. I like pointing that out too, because I love seeing some of these old ults come back. Maybe one day Gangplank will be able to sacrifice one of his own units for gold, just like he was when he was released. He could deny creep back in the day on release. Could you believe that?
Yeah. Crazy. I was just watching in awe as Piba fed the Singe to Tom Kench while I was on the bench. I thought he was going to go maybe for 7 Innovator, but decided not to.
They did just update the visuals of the dragon, so it's going to be a little bit more obvious on what is happening. But 98 AHP against the rest of the lobby on fire. If he's going to be able to maintain this through 4-3, this is where you would notoriously fall off at this point. But it does seem like we have the units, right? We do need to tier 2 some of these. This Fiora could be a little dominating, but we do need to get to another ult. The IE is definitely going to help out. It's more of a sense of how many units we're going to lose by now, especially since the eat on Tom Kench was pretty big. Oh, Fiora's going to ult. Are we going to be able to take out any units? No, as she dies before the cast finishes.
Piba on a 12 win streak. It's already level 8. This is, this is a fast 8 Piba, but it's not from a loss streak, right? It's not the typical Piba that we see. But I think it makes sense seeing Piba and Innovators in this kind of, I don't want to say wacky board, but a mismatch of units and items, but able to get Piba here on this massive win streak. If he hit a Jace, I feel like Piba would have already played the 7 Innovator. I think Piba just likes Tom Kench too much. I think he really loves to farm these items, and Tom Kench is going to do just that, especially from Piba's spot, right? He's so healthy, he can allow Tom Kench to farm for a very, very long time.
So we have a 4 Yordle set up right now with the Heimerdinger in the middle, Socialite buff. This augment is the one that gives the Socialite bonus to people who are next to the Hex.
Yep,
And it seems
75%.
like everyone is going to get this bonus. That Poppy is pretty strong. We won the last round, and with the Arcanists as well, this Lux could actually do some work. Hodge is one of those kind of items that you kind of just slam because you have components now. It's probably one of the weaker iterations that we've seen from it, but this Giant Slayer can be a big deal. So much healing, though, for Piba, especially with that Seraphine in the back line, which we actually haven't really talked about, but that's going to do a moderate amount of damage, more than you would expect, especially with those items, and do some healing. A lot of good utility from that Seraphine, and you get the Socialite bonus just because, right? Really good individual unit. All the Socialites are, really.
And she buffs the attack speed of her allies as well, so there's even more on top of that already. Oh, these Salvage Bin? I mean, it can be okay if we want to remake what this Lux has and move it over to something else. Easy-Rod's going to be alright, but I really dislike when it seems like sometimes players get baited into having to play around this Socialite Hex. And sure, if you have, the one Socialite because you have the Socialite Heart, you want to play around it, but then doubling down and taking the augment that, you need to position everyone else around it. Dive and Thrive can never move because it feels so bad. It's just negating 2 augments. You can never reposition. Your board right now isn't even that strong. It's honestly rather weak. Your Lux doesn't have good items. This is probably a 7th place it's looking like for Jive and Thrive. I just really can't see this board winning more than like 1 or 2 rounds like over the next like full stage. And A-Rat already did go out. That's why we can dodge 8th here, but probably not gonna be much more than that.
The unfortunate thing is we have 2 Lulus and a Tristana. Like, it does seem like we are still open to 6 Yordles. But the Vex is hopefully going to help out here because we're going to get a taunt off after the kill. We get a reset now for the Lux. That's good news. Oh, Heimerdinger steals potentially the reset there from the Lux, but we were able to get it. But again, like you said, the Giant Slayer is cool, right? That's something that you do like seeing on Lux sometimes, but you want to see some AP there as well. One of the better users of Archangels probably, but that Lux not enough. And what's again really unfortunate for Jive and Thrive is the fact that again it's the easiest Zephyr of anyone's life going up against him.
Oh yeah,
right. It's like set 2 with elements, right? You would just put your Zephyr in the elemental hex and just neutralize it. And when you have that Socialite buff, you're gonna be mad predictable. Basically, you need enough stats around that Socialite buff that you're gonna survive the Zephyr and have enough time and enough power to actually win the round. And with a Yordle comp, I'm not sure you're going to be able to do that.
No, I don't think so either. It's probably going to be a 7th, but maybe you can scrape a 6 or something. Every single placement doesn't matter. Over on NYU's board, ooh, going to get the potential for an IE on the Yone to wrap out those 3 items. I love that. Could even redemption the Braum afterwards. Oh, he already has redemption. Never mind. Level 8.
He can have 2.
He could have 2. A bit of diminishing value there, but he could.
And remember, it does take AoE damage away, which makes it better against certain compositions and just useless, just a heal for other compositions. Oh, interesting. You need a new word for that, not a heal, because that could work like, oh, you're being a heal right now. So the health regeneration is going to be the only part of the item that you use. This is actually pretty late Blitzcrank. Usually Blitzcranks have kind of cycled out by this point, but that was also a beautiful Braum ult. But after the Braum ult, you need something to happen in order to take advantage of it, and it's going to be the Orianna ult providing a little bit of extra support, and the Yone did get into the back line. So much damage from the Yone, taking down the sniper Jinx there. Not Jinx, Jhin.
Well, Jive and Thrive did actually win that round, and Simon did fall, so is going to, get an extra placement because of that. See, Viagra is somehow stabilizing as well with that Fiora. Another Yone too. And denying Yones from the rest of the field as we see Pitsy trying to roll down for Yones and is just not finding them. This is a doomed spot. You're level 7 on 5-2, still rolling to hit a Yone too. It's just it's not it.
This is how I play TFT when I'm trying to run Yone. Like, I swear, Like, the game,
This
like,
board.
hears my mind and is like, I will not give you a Yone.
Yeah.
Like, I know you really want to play it because it looks really fun and it like totally speaks to my type of play style, but you will never get the chance. Uh, so Pitsy having a little bit of a rough time in terms of the roll down. Good strategy though to block some of those units. And you know, blocking unit might be the difference between 4th and 5th, right? With these HP totals, Piba in massive control right now. Everyone else battling for 4th place, it looks like, as this is going to be a loss, and we're 1 unit away from getting wiped out. Jive and Thrive did end up in 6th. He should actually be pretty happy about that 6th place. I think that was an extra spot higher than what in a vacuum what would have happened, but we're still alive, and when you're alive, you still have a chance. Unfortunately, we have no gold, which makes your chance very minuscule in this position.
When you're level 7 in this situation, just dog rolling every turn, a 5th is probably good enough. Honestly, that's a bit of a high roll. Don't think that should be too discouraging. Maybe the overall game certainly can feel discouraging, because this is a pretty bad spot. But oh well, there's always the next one, right? But going up against the snipers again, this Jhin has gotten a lot of value. This has been a Jhin 2 for a very long time, I think since like 3.5, the Sniper Orianna as well. And the Janna Peel, I mean, the Janna Peel is so good.
So good. And you know, I'm like obsessed with Peel in this game.
Yeah.
Because it is one of the best enablers for your backline carries. And if I'm not playing like a duelist type of comp from back in the day, like with Yone with the challengers, I love auto attack based units like Kale. So that makes it always fun. But this is a 5th place for Pitsy. Now we're going to go over to Sphinx Boy, who notoriously has bad luck when I cast him specifically. We do have a win on the first lobby, so that's good. But we did lose that last one. We did rip off a couple wins, but that might have been against the bottom 4 already eliminated. We'll see what happens, as Viagra seems to have one of the stronger comps, Piba losing 2 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, Piba's early game was so good. He's probably going to be fast 9ing at this point. Sphinx did grab a Banshee's Claw. That's going to help protect all these backliners. I like that pickup. Only having a Braum 1 is pretty unfortunate, right? This front line leaves a lot to be desired. It's just a matter of, you know, how quickly can Jhin take out the enemy composition at that point. This might be just a 4th here for Sphinx, but that's okay. I mean, no true caster cursing that you're giving Sphinx, right? He did win the game number 1, top 4ing this game. Not bad at all.
It's so crazy to kind of think about how many Trundle 2s we had at the beginning of the game here, and how not that strong these comps are right now. Big Shroud. That was a nasty Shroud. And that's another reason why you don't pick that socialite emblem, by the way. The augment is you just place your Shroud in front of the, you know, the Hex, and literally everyone gets shrouded. 3 of our units haven't used their ultimates yet, but we got raw auto attack damage from the Jhin. This Orianna should not be long for this world. Got the ult off. We helped with the unit, but that's going to be a 3-unit win for Sphinx, as NYU falls. This top 4 is looking a little fluid right now as people continues the nosedive, and really quickly, because it's not even round 6 yet, and Pipa has lost about 40 HP in 3 rounds, 3 to 4 rounds.
NYU's trying to roll for this Yone 3. There's actually a Yone or 2 in Sphinx's shop. I thought he was gonna look to deny it. Did not do that, however. I actually really like how Bioware is playing this game. This is, okay, I'm not hitting Yone, I'm just gonna play what I actually hit, right? I'm playing a Fiora carry with bruisers. She's fully itemized, she's doing a lot of damage, and Tom Kench and Mundo are there to be the front line. Like, this is actually so well played, I think, by Viagra.
Oh, clutch heal onto that Yone, who almost gets taken down by the Fiora, who is going to ult. The Fiora, though, is going to proc the GA. That's why GA is so good. GA, his best ability is the fact that you lose aggro after you fall, and this is an example of the value of the Guardian Angel on Yone. If you don't want to, if you want to say, hey, maybe not the GA, that this round should make you just like change your opinion. That is why you vote GA on Yone.
100%. NYU finally finds the Fiora 2 upgrade. Still 2 Yones off. Redemption. Now we'll get the second redemption. We're forced to use it this time around. An IE on that dragon for it looked like the Jinx there. Piba still is bleeding out, albeit slowly, 57 HP.
The redemption is not what you want to see in this situation, unfortunately. It's going to help you against things like Seraphine, right? But, I mean, that's not really a sentence you say that often. I need help for the surfing.
Yeah.
Right. So
Not often.
yeah, you're looking at inches there. I mean, like you're really a half glass full type of person if you're talking like that in your head at that moment in time. As the Janna 2 is 2 gold away, we do sell a unit. We are 2 Yones away from that Yone 3, 23 HP. It could happen.
Yeah.
But we're gonna need to be a little lucky for it, as Piba and Viagra are closing in on the final couple rounds here. We should make it to round 7, especially with Piba at 57 HP.
It is very interesting that NYU is only running 2 Academy as well, but I think that's because the IE is there. Academy just gives like a lot of raw AD, but you know that's there with the IE. We can just go more attack speed with the challengers, and because of that, right, more attack speed means Yone is attacking faster. These fights are happening so quickly that Piba's gonna, you know, drop in only like 5-10 seconds into that fight.
I don't know why I just had an image of, you know, that meme with Thomas the Tank Engine coming out of the hills and he looks like
Is that Yone?
Yeah, that was Yone to me for a second. Like
Yeah.
choo choo, everybody. That was,
Oh yeah.
or it was like that scene in Star Wars that made no sense but was really cool in the 8th movie. I don't want to ruin anything.
That's gonna
in
go
Star
over my
Wars.
head.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, sometimes the deep cut reference isn't worth it. But yeah, we have the Yone with that GA and that Rudin. So the Rudins is going to be really nice too, especially with all of that attack speed that eventually does hit that Yone, which means it might not be as much as, say, a single hit from someone else. But, you know, it's like when you're walking with a tall person, their one step moves them so much further than everyone else. But if I go 3 steps to their 1 step, I might be able to beat them, right?
Yep.
And that's Yone. Yone is someone who understands their height and knows how to shuffle.
So more of the story is Yone is very short, but takes a lot of very small, quick, efficient steps.
Efficient
Noted.
steps, yep.
Efficient steps. And I mean, he's taking a lot here. And efficient use of the ultimate as well. It does take out enemy Fiora. Just has to cleave through Tom Kench and Mundo right now. And yeah, I'd be inclined to agree, Boop. This Yone is very, very good.
The Yone might be the last 1A, huh? Oh, that wasn't good. I'm better than that. I'm better
That
than
was,
that.
oh, I mean, maybe if he's Yone 3.
Oh.
One more roll. Oh.
Ooh,
not
good
yet.
Pack, though, for another comp.
Yeah, good back for a
That's a
Victor
great
player.
comp for a Victor player or Chemtech player. But unfortunately for us, this Braum seems to be dying immediately after the ult. And so one of our tanks gets just taken down too quickly. This comp is something that we've seen. Remember that I think Mundo is the most popular 4-cost unit when it comes to rounds 4 and 5. So a lot of people like putting that in the front line. Look at how many. We have 4 Ionic Sparks on the board right now.
Oh, Viagra. Oh, is that bug where you can't place an item? Oh, BG. I don't think it would matter much in this composition or in this fight anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it.
No. Mundo's getting eaten by Tom Kench. The Fiora is trying her best. I mean, she's ulting. She's getting some heals.
Oh!
If there's a way that she can ult again, but no, she cannot. Honestly, though, I think a 3rd place from that spot from Viagra is still very impressive. Very well done there, but now it is the showdown. Piba versus NYU, and Piba is still level 8. He actually did not push level 9 as anticipated. But he does have to consider denying some Yones.
We only need 1 more now, right? And so we are going to get the Janna for Piba. The only way we deny Yone now is by rolling once, and hopefully one of them hits our pack. We have the Nikos. I think that's been there forever, going on to the Jinx. We're keeping the tiers right now. Blue buff on the Janna. Going to keep away with the Archangels. A little frustrated.
Yeah.
As well.
Yone 3 is here.
It's
and I
GG.
think that might be
Yeah.
okay. What can happen, right? CC can come through the Janna ulti, maybe a Yumi ulti. It's really unlikely that you take down the Yone even once, let alone multiple times. You're gonna need to. So it's probably just game over. But we do have the Yone knocks back. Yumi ultimate not there. So yeah, it's a rough one. It's a rough one.
Yeah, this is what you call walking the plank, friends. Imagine yourself in the middle of the ocean, slowly moving off of the boat for some reason on a singular plank. That's what Piba is doing. But honestly, the only reason why Peeba is here is that Jin is a couponer. Got so many deals based off the like. A lot of the comps that we're seeing are actually kind of skinny. So the Jin was able to do the damage that they were able to do, as well as the fact is, if we check in 5 or 6 rounds ago, Jin was still one of the stronger units on the board, probably other than this Yone. So, it makes complete sense that Peeba was able to make it in regards to the tempo of this lobby, which is also why we were able to get a Yone 3 in front of our eyes as well. As again, we're just walking the plank right now. One more round for Peeba to go through. But don't give up, right? Crazier things have happened. I was talking about so we actually just FF'd. I wonder what the item was.
Save mental. FF to preserve mental. Not sure I made the same decision, but I can't fault you for it against the Yone 3. That is going to be the Yone 3 victory. People getting second, even though with that win streak. But yeah, Yone 3 is pretty good, huh?
Yep, pretty good. So the Yone is gonna win out that lobby. That was on accident, actually, Yone for the lobby. Anyway, but yeah, people played really well there and was able to recognize where he was in relation to power everywhere else, and was tended to stay one step ahead and then nosedived, pulled out, but it wasn't enough after we kind of leveled off there for Peeba, especially since there's just enough time for the Yone to come through.
It seemed like from Peeba's spot, like he was level 8 for a long time, had an insane win streak, but he only had a Jinx 2 in terms of like 2 legendaries in the end of things, and I think he got that from the Carousel Jinx, so he rolled a lot of gold that kind of seemed to just like go into the void. He could have used that gold to go 9, decided to roll on level 8, it just didn't really hit that much. A bit unfortunate maybe, could have won if that didn't go that way, but we do have the scores ready for our first 2 games, and it is going to be NYU in first place. Game number 1 was a second, and now we have reached a first. Sphinx in second, as well as 16 points. Peeba in third, and then Viagra, Arat, Simon, Jive and Thrive, and Pitsy down the line. But what are your thoughts here for the first couple of games, Boop?
I think the results speak for themselves. We're still learning, my friends, right? We've seen a couple different plays. We saw some traditional comps do well, like the Chemtex, but sometimes you also high roll and get a Yone 3, right? Yone is such a contested unit. The fact that Yone 3 was even available and be able to be seen from a certain point once we hit 7 of them is pretty impressive. And maybe you blame the lobby for that, but also, we focused in on it. Sometimes hyper focusing on a unit is a really bad thing, but for this Yone, not really. It was almost as strong enough as like a tier 3-5 cost. I feel like the rest of the board didn't even need to be there.
Yone is honorary legendary unit, at least right now in the TFT meta. That's what it feels like. I mean, and we saw, say, the tier 3 like Lissandra in the previous game, like that didn't really work out that well. I mean, it got a second still, but the Yone 3, obviously that's going to win some rounds. And it was contested, right? There were players trying to go Yone, but they didn't even hit Yone 2. Even Viagra, right, was forced to run 6 bruisers with the Fiora just because they couldn't really find Yone nor the Yone items. So this goes to show you, if you play the lobby that hard and find a lot of early Yones, it's still decent to hang on to them, because you can set yourself up for Yone 3 as well as just grief the rest of the lobby out of their Yones, and it worked out beautifully, right, in that game. So very, very good stuff. That is the halfway point though, however, so we will be taking a bit of a break, but don't go anywhere. We'll return soon for more Fight Night Rising, brought to you by Wisdom. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fight Night Rising, brought to you by Wisdom. 2 games are in the books, and we still have 2 more left to go. We have a pretty decisive lead, I would say, as of right now, by NYU. Got a second, then a first, has 18 points, but Sphinx not too far behind, but there's still room for these other players to catch back up Boop. And we're talking about, what we've seen so far before the break, but I think we gotta start to see a lot of differentiating play styles, right? Especially with Piba, like either playing like this full, loss streak thing going on, or just I get a super good early game like this innovator and kind of carry that for a win streak. And there's always mercenaries, right? It's just who can get the most mercenary value, I think, is a major theme that we've seen throughout tonight so far.
Yeah, exactly. And mercenaries have shown up today. Tom Kench, good unit.
True.
Especially since you can fit in Yone in that mercenary comp, right? The fact that there is a challenger in that mercenary comp is a big deal, because before you find the Yone, you can use something else, right? Or you can just wait for it because your other 3 mercenaries are fine, because Miss Fortune's also a really good unit. That you don't even need the Yone for most of the first half of the game. So just good overall, and not the hardest version of this kind of gambling trait that we've seen. Fortune was substantially more punishing if you cashed out too early.
Yeah,
In
that's
my
true.
opinion, Mercenary way more forgiving on the win streak. I think it enables the win streak a little bit more than some of our other similar traits. But maybe if Pitsy was able to lose streak a little bit longer, we were able to do that. Maybe that's the hard part. Maybe the mercenary units are just so good. Getting a loose streak going is part of the strategy.
Yeah, because it's awkward, right? Because you want to farm gold with Gangplank if you can, but then if your Gangplank is too powerful, then he just wins and kills the whole board, which you also don't really want. So
Right?
it is kind of weird. It is kind of awkward. You want to max efficiency, scout out the power levels of everyone else on the board accurately, right? And that's honestly kind of hard to do always, is accurately determine, is my board stronger or weaker than the next 3 that I'm potentially going to fight.
hmm I totally agree. And lose streaking is a strategy, right? TFT is it's a cool game because losing is a part of how you can play. It's going to be grab bag
Yeah.
here, and grab bag's really nice if you're wondering why anyone would pick grab bag, because it seems, I think, first impression, it kind of seems like, oh, it's just an item. I get a bunch of items in this first round. You only get 3 components, right?
Yeah.
So you potentially can leave these rounds, because I think you could get a 20 gold start too with units without with 2 components. But even then, you're gonna have 2 completed items, and other people just won't. Right? So you're gonna have the full power of this Infinity Edge and whatever completed item comes out next. And in the early game, inches are really big deals,
Yeah.
right? Single auto attacks take so long, right? These upfront items that you get from this augment is just really nice. Pandora items is super fun. I haven't seen that in a while.
Oh yeah.
I believe that's the one that RNGs your items on your bench.
Yep.
Really fun to play with, but you have to be really good at planning when it comes to that. It's like, okay, if I see these items, I'm going to put them on because they're only going to be there for this round.
Definitely. And I think also a good way to look at it is that some of these augments are only going to be great in the early game. Some are going to scale for the entire game. Some are going to be really just late game. But item grab bag, it gives you the opportunity. Oh, like what we just saw right there. That was so nice. Okay, so it's going to make you a lot stronger in the early game. It gives you a reforger so that you get to reforge a dead component, a dead item at any point, and with that, actually reforge the tier into a belt. Got a Sunfire, still has the IE plus the scrap value here for the Ezreal. This is such a strong board, and having an item advantage once you reach the late game is so good as well, because you don't control all the items components you get. You could just end up not getting a third carry item or a third tank item, but with grab bag you're going to be so much more likely to with that random item and the reforger. It's we see the power of the early game with it right here too.
Right, and it's made for scrap.
Yeah.
Right? Like that particular augment is made for scrap openings. And there's 2 different scrap openings you can go to, right? Because there's 1/1 cost and 3/2 costs in in scrap, right? So you can put the Trundle in, you can put the Blitzcrank in, just the 2 actually, put the Blitzcrank in. But again, pretty good. Blitzcrank is really good in the early game. It enables some of our backline units to actually have access to other backline units we otherwise might not have been able to do. As Peebo starts off with a high roll on the Jinx here, we already have a Ziggs 3. This is how you want to start a Yordle comp. Personally, especially with the it's funny because I think the most important unit here is actually not a Yordle, it's the Leona, because that is what's going to enable the Poppy throughout a lot of these rounds. And again, we might not get wins, but we're not going to get wiped potentially, as we see another Yordle comp potentially on the other side as another 3-cost unit. But that Scrap player, you know, we I believe won that last round, so that early item continuing to find that value.
Definitely. It looks like we are having a weak spot, I believe that is, for Peebo. Another one of these generic, decent augments in the early game. Gonna get a bit of armor shred value, and also it reduces the healing by 50%, so that's a really good benefit from it. Peebo, I think, is going to be very comfortable with the loss streak here. This Leona is going to be decently tanky. She can remain on this board if we want to think about, you know, some academy boards later. But Peebo going back to his old ways, loss streak, fast 8, roll it down.
I feel like, you know, sometimes when we see players do, like if we saw another player do what Peebo did earlier, we might call them dizzy, right? But because it's Peebo, it's like, I live in the dizzy.
Yeah,
right. If I'm always dizzy, right? Is it?
I was gonna say, yeah, Peebo is like is probably dizzy, but that's okay because he lives in the dizzy.
Yeah, he understands the dizzy, right? It's it makes complete sense to me that that's the type of player that could function in this way. It's too stressful for me to play like this. I do not like lose streaking anymore. I used to like love being on the bottom of the totem pole and then picking first on carousel. Now I just get too stressed out. So I don't know if it's because of my age or maybe I'm just better at the game now. But as we go over to Sphinx, who is one of our 2 players at 100 HP, I've been seeing a lot of streaking in the early game. We haven't quite seen it in these lobbies, but it does seem like someone will make Krugs at 100 HP. This is another Scrap Bruiser start. This Scrap is going to be the Echo this time around, but it's just so funny to me how Trundle always somehow becomes the best unit. Somehow.
I know.
I'll never forget Trundle 1 from last set when it released. I think we got to cast it first, and I think we were like, this is not okay.
Yeah, this
right.
And then the famous like
kiting
clip where the Trundle 1 like 2 tier 3 units. It was.
This is a lot more balanced, but still very strong. I think a lot of people underestimate a lot of units that don't have very obvious ultimates, right? Especially in Plat and below. But, you know, same thing like Shroud of Stillness. It might not be the fanciest or funnest item like the, you know, like a Rage Blade, right? But in terms of percentages, it will give you the most top 4s. The Trundle here, great starting unit. You can tell already as we have him at 100 HP. NYU, I believe, is also running some scraps at 100 HP.
Yeah, and I think actually Trundle did already get nerfed a little bit from PvE. I think he actually was a bit better, which just goes to show Trundle shows up, he's probably going to be strong. But yeah, it's okay. He's not like super impressive. He does get outscaled, but he is a very good early game carry while being a bruiser, so getting that, you know, the extra tankiness. Very nice. Sphinx is pretty hard scouting NYU wants position for this matchup, because if you run into the 100 HP player, ooh, yeah, the player who wins it's going to be way far ahead. Is it going to be enough, though?
That's always the question at the end of the day, right? Is it going to be enough? Because sometimes it really feels like it. I mean, I've watched enough First or Eighth to understand that sometimes the team that looks the strongest really isn't. As we're going to see the power of Trundle in front of our eyes. I think we're going to get 2 of these units out. Oh, no, Zillion, man. I think that's 2 or 3 seconds there on that bomb. When there's only 4 units and you freeze someone for that long, you might as well just not even count that unit as existing.
Yeah. Zillion 2, Ezreal 2, even Camille 2 at the front line, giving Clockwork is pretty strong. Oh, this is A-Rat's board, actually. I was going to say. Okay, so there's 2 players that have Ezreal 2, Zillion 2. So I got real dizzy there for a second. It's just the dizziness is spreading.
It's contagious. The dizziness can be contagious sometimes. So, again, like sometimes whole lobbies will get dizzy together.
Everyone's dizzy. If everyone's dizzy, is anyone dizzy?
Yeah, exactly. But what I want to mention about this particular comp is eventually these scrap players are going to have to move away from this.
Oh yeah.
Ezreal 3 might not, especially with these items. And if we keep rolling Zeeks, that's really good utility for what we have elsewhere. But eventually these scraps are going to leave this comp, and just like some other comps like Cultists in the past, it's not how you get into it, it's how you get out of it that really matters. And a lot of people can depend on their scraps for 3 or even 4 rounds too long, because it feels like they should be doing better. They're getting that extra completed item, but they're all statted out to compensate for that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And when you're pivoting out of it, right? It's like, are you going to pivot out too early and try to roll down like on 7 or something and just not hit, or could you like greed it out, right? I think a lot of this set comes down to how well you play your early game to set you up to go 8 and stabilize on a strong board. And obviously things like Scrap and Innovator can get you there, but it's just how well you're developing these boards in the early game and how well you're scouting and positioning, right? Because losing that streak like we saw Sphinx do pre-Krugs can have a lot of implications, right? That's probably gonna equal like, I don't know, upwards of like, 10 to 15 gold loss just by losing your streak before
Yep.
neutrals.
Maybe even more. Sometimes it's actually super crazy once you do all the math that this 1 gold in like round 3-1, for example, actually equals, X amount of gold, which is substantially higher than that.
Yep.
As Pitsy is running some Chemtex right now. That's going to be a pretty gnarly Lissandra. Once that gets to Lissandra 2, we saw how tanky the other one was. But at Lissandra 1, we might not even get an ult if the damage is there. Damage is not there. Might be the assassins do find the backline. And I don't think the Lissandra is going to ult herself here, which might have been much better. So we could have gotten another one, but this is going to be a win for this Lissandra?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, Katarina is just ignoring the Lissandra.
Because of the auto attacks on the IE, I think we actually end up helping out. Look at how much physical damage that was on on the board. There was the most in the whole team.
Ooh, item grab bag. I mean, hey, probably gonna be the pick here. Dominance is not. Pitsy's not in a spot where dominance is good enough. Dragon's Claw, a solid defensive component, can slam that onto one of the frontliners for now and be okay for it. That was actually also versus a Simon level 7 board, because Simon did have hyper roll, so you get 2 gold, of course, if you're below 10 gold. So pushing levels very quickly is oftentimes very good, and usually does net you round wins. Except once you're up against this Lissandra, who is apparently Faker. So there we go.
There you go. League of Legends lore right there. There's a reason why Lissandra was in Rise, by the way. It wasn't that, but there's another reason. But this will be good. Like, if this was a tier 2 Lissandra, those are round wins, no problem, right? No anxiety whatsoever. But this is still a tier 1 Lissandra with just basic stats. We got Thrill of the Hunt. No, that one is the first 2 rows one.
Ooh,
right?
Wait, wait, you're making
No,
me
Thrill the
dizzy
Hunt.
now.
Thrill the Hunt is on the right. The plus is on the right. Your left.
Wait,
Piba, this is your
dizzy,
fault.
I'm dizzy. I think
this is
I
your
think
fault,
it's Thrill,
Piba.
but now I'm second guessing myself.
I know, right? It's like when you say a word too many times, it just sounds weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it doesn't really matter which one it is because she still is bad. Sometimes you want that chemical overlord to help with some of those stats. If we get to explode, even that might be really nice, especially since a lot of people do tend to surround the Lissandra. And one of the things that Lissandra can do that's really frustrating but totally okay is ulting herself, and then the rest of your team just walks over her ult trying to get somewhere else, and then she does a lot of damage. But she's not someone who's going to take down a lot of units. She's definitely like a butter them up and then someone else takes him down type of unit. So a little bit more on the utility side, but with this build, that should change as we see a pretty beefy Ezreal as well with a Deathblade.
Oh my. Oh, this Katarina, I mean, has some good Yone items. Doing her best Yone cosplay. That's probably the direction Simon is going, given the fact that there are 4 academies on this board. Also have solved the problem. The plus is always Thrill, and it's an up arrow. That's the knife's edge.
There it is. That's good. Hey, that's good for everybody. That's good info for everybody. Because now you don't have to hover over it. You just need to look for the symbol.
Yeah.
Right? and then just hopefully ingrain that context. So, 2 Leonas in the front line. This is a little bit of a baby brigade right now, which is just tier 1 units, and a Katarina that wants to go to Marshalls and find that bargain bin by taking down more units than maybe she should. The first ult is gnarly bad. For that Katarina. At least we're going to get up to another one, and we're starting to help the rest of the team get stronger too because of Academy. And we're just going to hang out.
Cat AFK.
Yeah, we're just going to hang out. Classic cat player, by the way. I don't know how many cat players give first blood and then quit that I've experienced in my life on League of Legends.
Yeah, that's probably accurate. Oh, this Warwick. Oh boy.
Yeah, carry Warwicks are fun. That's a fun build.
Yep. They get nerfed a little bit from PB. So, Simon just naturals a Yone? Okay. Should not play it over the Katarina yet. That would actually be a downgrade. Yone 1 with these items, I don't think would do quite enough. But, okay, Simon's correctly identifying. Should keep the Katarina for now.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
You always want to invest in a singular unit and then put those items on something else. You're still kind of investing in that same type of unit. If you spread the love too much, there's not enough damage. Even though you have the same amount of items, the numbers don't equal out, right?
Yeah.
So you really need all of those items on a particular unit. But Yone 1 can be good, depending on how early you get it. But at 3-6, it is going to be more vulnerable than you would like it to be. But it's still Academy. It's still going to get stronger by the battery that is Katarina. And probably one of the most fun units you can have with Hextech Gunblade, by the way.
Katarina, yeah.
So fun. I believe they call it. It's kind of like, it almost reminds me of old school Sona. She's almost like a strict support that way. Super fun. Can actually top 4 a lobby as well. Assassin's not in the best spot in the world. Hence, we haven't really seen them. I don't think we've seen a single Akali at all.
That's true. I mean, you can get like a pretty good like high roll assassin board if you get like 7 or 5 syndicate, like some Akali's in there. She will do very good. It's hard to get to that spot. I think it's a lot less standardized than say getting to like your Yone or your Urgot carries, or even just like Arcanist, right? And carry a Lux. That's a lot simpler. That Katarina, of course, still very good for now. But then moving over to the super dog, the Warwick. Is Strive and Thrive going to reroll? Yes. Okay, this is a full Warwick carry with only 3 Warwicks so far. Not great.
The level 6 roll down is so anti my brain for some reason. Usually at 4-1, like if you're again just playing TFT in a vacuum, mostly in previous sets, at this point you would level to 7, right? And potentially roll down or just keep your units there. But we're rolling down at 6. The Imperial, the Samira build, likes to roll down at 6 as well. But no, we're gonna keep it at 46. We had about 20 gold to use, over 50 gold. We're going to keep our defensive items on the bench. One will probably turn into a Gargoyle Stone Plate and or a ZZ Rot, but this Warwick, that's carry Warwick, my friends. You don't need a lot of damage, right? You just need that. You need freedom, right? And that's what the QSS is going to help you with a little bit of extra oomph from the Titans.
Exactly. You need freedom, right? And need to attack fast. That's why the Rage Blade's there. That's why the QSS is there. The Titans just to make them tankier, right? It's all really going to come together super well for that build. Sphinx still running the Trundle. Okay, now it's going to pivot off, transfer items over to a frontliner and over to a Mundo specifically. Sphinx in a good spot, 78 HP. Honestly, I don't know if Sphinx needed to roll this aggressively on 7. Maybe could have pushed 8. I mean, it's arguable. You could go either way, right? But Sphinx is still in an okay spot right now, having rolled it down decently so on 7.
The Socialite spot, not the best. A couple of those units, units can use the far right second row. Kind of well, all like Draven last set. Yone could be put there. Gangplank really could be put there. So you're going to be seeing those in those spots. But again, I don't know, man. Like the thing about the Socialite trait in general is it's just like that second set where eventually everyone just built Zephyrs and plopped them on that Hex.
Yeah, or Shrouds, right?
Yeah, and so that's available. So eventually, either the socialite trait will have to just be valuable enough to sacrifice all of that. And right now, Zach is getting 20 more damage. At 2, he gets mana. At 3, I haven't quite seen that thus far, but the mana is going to be really important with the 2 socialites. But with just the 1, you're just getting some stats. And not all of these units will benefit from it. This Lissandra might. You saw how the IE helped a little earlier on Lissandra, so maybe this 20 damage might be the difference.
Yeah, 3 socialites so hard to fit in. I mean, it does give some healing if you don't have like a BT or a Hodge from the Urgot. But yeah, again, fitting 3 in here is going to be pretty hard. And Sphinx has already passed up on I believe it was a Seraphine in the shop. It's going to be Urgot v Urgot right now. Urgot build from Piba is a lot better. Rageblade Urgot, not really good. He has fixed attack speed, but it is converted into AD. Again, not good enough there though.
Yeah, so I'll Jin.
Yep.
It's gonna make him stronger though. So don't feel like it's like
it's not useless.
That doesn't work. Yeah, they're better items. Like basically you see it when you don't get your cloak or something. And you can't build your Runins.
Oh, then you're sad, which yeah, Sphinx might be sad if he can't get a Runins.
Exactly, because talk about enabling a unit. If a single item enables a unit, that Runins for Urgot specifically might be one of those, perfect fits situations where we'll probably never see a build that's best in slot with Urgot without it.
100% agree. Yone as well. Belt grabbed by Sphinx. NYU grabs a sword. HPs from the top half of the lobby are very close, actually. Even NYU only at 72. There's no person running away with the lobby like we saw at Piba. And Piba does so good, I think, at mitigating losses while maintaining a lot of gold, right? Because Piba has enough gold to go A right now and still roll down with like between 30 to 40. He is, however, in true Piba fashion, going to greed out even more in go level 8, probably on 5-1. Because his board is still decent, right? We saw him take down, I believe it was Sphinx last round. Ooh, Simon level 8 has a Yone too. Big roll down.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now we're getting some front lines.
Oh, here's the Lissandra.
All right, this is Lissandra now with the with the gunblade. That's fun. I like that. That makes total sense. But also Lissandra would need to ult in order to get there, and we do get a heal. But
she did. Can she ult again?
Oh, no, she actually might have won the round.
Yeah, if she ulted again, she actually would have won.
Yeah. Tarek might have lived with like a sliver of HP, but everyone else definitely would have fallen. Sunfire board, a tome, or ardent censer. 3 okay choices. I forget who I saw on Twitter who said the tome is. Oh, I think it was Thray that said the tome is a little overrated.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, 85 gold. I don't even have 85 gold in my real bank account. So we'll see where that 85 gold goes to.
Okay, Piva. Oh, okay. Hits a Jinx. He instantly just like feeds his tank to Tahm Kench every single time because he wants his. Okay, Piva wants to feed the Tahm Kench every single turn. I think that's why we saw him in the previous game not play the Graves, but instead feed the Tahm Kench because he just like he really wants Tahm Kench to be as powerful as possible every single time.
I mean, Tahm Kench has the highest base ability damage, right, in the whole game. So the more you enable, the higher the chance that you're going to get value out of it. Because there's nothing worse than getting a Tahm Kench E and then seeing someone get spit out with like no HP, right? You want to get that value, and not only is he's the reason why he's so good. He's a tank that does damage, right?
Yeah.
In any iteration of League of Legends, in any iteration of any MOBA, a tank that does damage will get nerfed. So let's appreciate for what it is right now, because this is probably one of the stronger points we'll see TK. Maybe the units around him get nerfed to make him a little bit more rare, a la trying to get Kale back in the day. But, we lose here, but that's okay. People expected that. We got a lot of value from those 3 mid-round wins in 4-6. That's really going to help us with our HP.
Ooh. Interesting augments here for Piba. Does have Knife's Edge. Does have Ardent, and has Weak Spot as well, so we don't really need like the Last Whisper or anything like that. This Jinx, however, doesn't have any healing, and she's, I don't want to say baited into standing in that Socialite Hex because it does also give Knife's Edge. It just makes it a little weird versus some other boards, however.
Do we not like Socialite, Khroen? Is that what, is that what it sounds like?
I like Socialite, I don't like when you stun lock yourself into feeling like you have to always stand in the socialite hex. You should be willing to move out of the socialite hex if it is a good spot to do so, but also socialite is good. Like it's not bad. It just sometimes is bad when you force it too hard, like force the
I
positioning too hard.
So I think a really good kind of real life example is people who force everyone to get value out of Zeeks or Lockets,
Yeah.
right? When sometimes you only need the one person to get the attack speed, right? You don't have to get the full value all the time, and it's an actual spotlight. So your mental is gonna go directly towards it. It's legitimately gonna feel weird. Not gonna put anything in it,
it
but
stun locks you.
yeah, it really does. But when it comes to this Vex, that actually might be kind of nice. We don't auto attack that much, but TFT is a game of inches, and she's going to be able to tank just enough as well with the Academy emblem on her. We have really good Lux items. That's going to be the crit. We're going to ult really soon. The Death Cap's going to give that Jeweled Gauntlet some really good ratios to work off of. But again, I haven't really seen Lux hold on to the end of the game for a while because things like Yone are able to get to her a little easy, but we're going to take Yone's too, so we'll see what happens.
I really, really like this board from Viagra. I've said it like 2 games in a row now. First, it was the Bruiser board, then the Fiora, and this time it's the using Arcanist emblems, but not forcing the Yone, but actually down to run Arcanist in this spot, and is able to get good value out of the Socialite Hex as well, because you can position in the corner to protect your Lux, but also have Vex at the kind of pinnacle of that to benefit from the Hex. It's not like Vex does poor damage. Like her damage is actually decent. So she will get value out of it.
Ooh, look how quick that Titan's procced as well. And this Lux, see, that's what I'm talking about, right? Like that's literally what we talked about just last round, right? Is Lux is good, right? Lux is a great unit. If Yone wasn't in the game, Lux might be one of the best units in the game, right? But because these challengers are there, they have the ability to get into range after getting that kill. Lux is so vulnerable because in previous iterations, these challengers would have to walk there, right? Yeah. And by the time they walk there, Lux maybe gets 2 or 3 auto attacks, might be enough for an ult, and you don't even get a chance. But because of how Yone works, right, you have 2 chances to get to Lux, and it worked out there, and he was able to eat an ult as well, even though that was such crazy upfront damage. A Lux 3, though, will change all of that.
Oh yeah, Lux 3 will delete boards, much like Yone, but from safe range. We're Jive and Thrive, one of our Yone players, has a Kai'Sa too, as well as a challenger Jace with some tanky items. The frontline is pretty weak, right? Only tier 1 frontliners, but it might be okay. Jive and Thrive is still on a 5 streak regardless, and that is power of, of a good Yone build.
Yeah, this Yone build is OG Yone build with the Titans. See how much has changed?
Yeah.
Even in the last week and a half. That Titans was, if you go back on some guides, Titans is considered best in slot on Yone in some early guides. That does seem to be moving into other situations. It seems like all 3 of those items have been dropped. Maybe not the Rage Blade, but the GA seems to be the thing that really makes me excited for that Yone. These emblems are actually pretty nice. It's a splash. We got Enforcer, which is a 2. Academies seem to be very popular amongst everyone right now. Trap Claw Zeeks. This is a pretty good carousel.
Yeah, this is perfect for Jive and Thrive because he's running 3 academies right now. Enforcer could have been cute to run as well for 4 Enforcer. That's honestly a consideration in my mind. But
you don't want to force the Enforcer.
You don't want to force the Enforcer. I had a game the other day where I only was running a Fiora. I had an early Tome to where I was like, I can't use anything besides the Enforcer. And then the 3rd augment was Enforcer Soul. There was also no other good options. So just running 4 Enforcers really won. It's pretty nice. And it could have actually been pretty nice here for Jive and Thrive. Is going to go 6 Academy though, because as I was mentioning earlier, the Academy is super nice to give Yone the AD he needs. And he doesn't really have any true AD items, right? Titans being the closest thing, but he's going to benefit really, really heavily from that.
Gets enforced into the corner, but those handcuffs aren't going to last for long, and that dash is exactly why he's so scary. And look how quickly we stack the Titans, but the Jhin, and that's the thing about a unit like Jhin, it's a coin flip type of unit, right? Depending on where he's looking, is going to be where he's going to win or lose a round potentially.
Yeah.
So we hit the Yone that time. Another round that might not happen for real. So the Jin steals, I think, a win there. The Yone, I don't like this itemization, especially since how good the GA was earlier, but we're starting to we're trying to develop. We have good units. We've got the Academy Kaisa, and that's going to be an early ult to help something else a little bit later. But yeah, hopefully we get our 4 Academy ults within the first 5 seconds. Yumi's will be last, so we'll definitely see what happens there.
Yeah, now running 4 Enforcers actually took down the 6 Academy. Saw last fight and like myself was like, that looked like an Enforcer diff. So I want to run that too, because you enforce the max HP unit plus the carry, right? And that just buys Yone time to scale up. And yeah, Lux is gonna just now ult for the first time, get CC'd. I still don't know if Yone can actually get through this all. Doesn't look like it.
Ooh.
Oof.
Another Lux on oh, that's the same luck. So the Rabadons is going to, again, provide some good ratios for the JG. JG always works better the more AP you have. I know that seems really intuitive, but I think some people stack those JGs a little too frequently when you might get more value going another direction. Ionic Spark is going to be okay. The Seraphine is going to hit hard. With the Ionic Spark. But yeah, with the double Enforcer, it's like having 2 like half Zephyrs, right? They are vulnerable, and you can make an argument that in certain comps they actually might be better because they're still vulnerable on the ground, but they're going to be developing that ult. So, you win some, you lose some. It's really all about the timing at the end of the day. I wonder if we're going to reforge anything here.
I mean, we will with the Pandoras. Does reforge the Spark into a Dragon's Claw, because it will reforge completed items they have on the bench as well. Also, Sphinx did go out in 6th there, and Jive and Thrive in 5th. So we do have our top 4 already. A lot of Fiora is being rolled for. This could be a Fiora 3 potential in the future.
We haven't seen that quite yet. I think Fiora is a very nice like consulary unit. Meaning, if you don't have a Yone yet, just put those items on Fiora because that's your second best option if you're running that comp, right?
Yeah.
Best in slot, I actually think, is Academy Emblem on her. But if you don't have any of those opportunities, Fiora 3 is pretty gnarly. It's true damage, right? Any unit with true damage can change a lot of things, and you saw it right there just with the 2 large rods on those lockets.
Yeah, the locket's actually allowing her to stay alive for a while. As soon as this Jin can ult, oh yeah, then he tears through the enemy Jin, tears through A-Rat, and NYU continues this win streak. But here we are with the man of the hour. It's Piba.
And somehow a top 4 with a bunch of tier 1 units.
Yeah, Tom Kench too, though, and that's the real carry. Of course, Piba has been buffing this Tom Kench every single turn. I can probably guarantee it. Academy spat potential. No. Oh, there is an Academy on board, actually, with the Yumi. But he's not slamming it.
We're playing get as many synergies as possible. Right now, the Enchantress synergy is going to be nice against the Lux, but might be a little bit harder here. That was a really good Orianna ult, but the reset because of the Janna, somehow our friend is still alive thanks to the Orianna ult, but the Jin on the other side now with a Bloodthirster, that's still an item in the game, friends, is going to get cornered. Nice Orianna ult, but no damage so far. I think the Jace has got this with the debuff.
Does he win? Oh
yeah.
My, what? How do you get your Jin hooked in like that and still win the round? That was like
Piba.
Because you're Piba, I mean, that has to be, right? Piba absolutely just scammed that round.
That was a multi-level marketing scheme right in front of our eyes, led by Piba. Sometimes, the thing about TFT is, say you run the same cycle 10 times, it will probably never be 10 out of 10. Sometimes you roll the 1 out of 10, and I think we're closer to that for Piba than the 4 out of 5 scientists who'd agree. Piba's the 5th scientist in that situation. Yeah.
Leaving the spat on the bench this time around does not get the Jin Blitzcrank hooked. A lot of it's how much value is Tom Kench going to get, and where's the Jin going to shoot? Because we're up Jin v Jin this time. And it's not looking like it's going in Piba's favor. Or is it?
Oh, but
Maybe it
maybe
is.
because someone dashed in. It's the same thing happened.
Oh my god.
The-
Piba is the luckiest TFT player I think I have ever seen.
Someone dashed. Or someone moved into the line of sight of Jin and brought the rest of the team with them there. Did you see that?
Yeah, that
Ugh.
was I don't know what I'm stun locked.
I
Piba
love this
could
set.
win this lobby with this board, which, like, the board itself, right? It's not like this board is bad by any means. It is a decent board. Piba went 8 and has just been, yep, there it goes, feeding. Oh, he's not
Oh,
gonna
you
feed
can't.
that.
You can't feed Galio because he's 2 units, right? Or can you? I'm
I
pretty sure you can't feed
thought you
Galio.
could, but maybe you can't.
Oh,
No,
you
you can,
can.
yeah, 20
I
armor.
just assumed and never tried. I'm a bad QA tester.
Oh no.
I was like, oh, you can't put him on the board with 1 unit. Why would you be able to feed Tom Kench?
I was
Oh,
like,
this
I've
is
never
my Jana
tried,
moment.
so I
Yeah.
can't tell you no, but I assumed you could. Okay,
Yep.
the Zephyr,
Yep.
actually, Zephyr dodge is good. People could win this round as well. Unlikely, though, because this versus the Lux 3.
Man, that was probably really hard to eat. Very snake-like, probably, in its process.
Wait, no.
Oh my goodness, Lux 3. Oh, good lineup. Is this... Oh my goodness. If that was a Jace 2, he wins that. Just gonna put that out there. Yeah. He survives, will get 2nd place in probably one of the worst top 2 comps I've ever seen.
Oh, it's a Tom Kench diff, Boop.
Yeah.
You've seen the light. Oh, okay, he buys this Jace 2 somehow, some way. What does he sell? The Vi, the Tarek?
I think
I
you
mean,
sell it.
he sells something, right? Like, there's no way he just
You have
doesn't.
to. Oh my goodness.
He's not doing. Piba's the madman.
He's an absolute nutter. Everyone. Okay, Piba, let's see what happens here. We've got Oriana 1, Yumi 1, Jace 1, a naked Vi in the front line, a frozen heart, some healing, and somehow we actually split the Lux ult, but not the 2nd time around. We needed the Jace too. Piba knows that he had a swiper no swiping lobby just then, and we did not say it 3 times, unfortunately. He stole 2nd place just then, which is huge in terms of the standings. That was a joy.
Piba is one of the most fascinating players to watch in Teamfight Tactics, and has been that way ever since the beginning, right? Set 1, I imagine. I mean, I really remember it starting in set 2, but probably set 1 as well. Piba getting 2nd place there, but let's go ahead and look at the scores in that last game, because, of course, Viagra did get 1st, but these scores are getting a little bit closer, Boop. NYU, consistency reigns supreme, is at 25 points, 5 points ahead of Piba, but Piba 2nd place 2 times in a row with 20. Sphinx with 19, same with Viagra, also 19. Arat has 14, Simon and Jive and Thrive have 10, and then Pitsy, unfortunately, not having the best of days with 6 points. Only on the board.
So we're seeing some old habits right now from Sphinx. Remember,
oh yeah,
old
it starts
school...
off strong,
yeah,
and then tapers
yeah.
off
so,
over the course of the day.
And unfortunately for Sphinx, I probably know him better than every other player in TFT. Unfortunately for him, he was a really early adopter of the Little Legends podcast a long time ago, and we've gotten to chat and stuff like that. And it's so funny because I've watched Sphinx play so much. I watch him stream, and this happens a lot. It stopped happening like right before he took a break, right? But this always happens, man. And when we're going into the Piltover Cup, like it's the opposite. You want to do the opposite thing in TFT, right? Even though you might end up with the same amount of points, going from 3 points to 10 is always going to feel better than going from 10 points to 3, right? And so we just need one more lobby with that consistency, right? And we just need that lobby. And for some reason, Sphinx feels 50-50 on it. And maybe it's because we get into our head. Maybe as the game goes on, decisions get a little bit more convoluted. Maybe we're thinking too much, which seems to be a problem with the set for a lot of high-level players. Like just too much thinking, trying to be too fancy. But really curious to see where Sphinx finishes here. If old Sphinx comes back, or if we see the rejuvenated post-break unretired Sphinx, as we're going to start off with Viagra, who might be saying bye-bye at the end of this lobby, because we are tied for 3rd place right now.
Tied for 3rd place indeed, with 1st place on the table, right, it's only a 6-point differential between Sphinx and Viagra up to NYU Gaming, who is in first. So top four might be secure to remain in the top four, but definitely look to achieve more. Viagra getting double rod. Not often Death Cap is a good early game slam. Might be not quite willing to do that one, but I mean, I don't think we've seen a lot of early game AP carries, but TF can be a really good one, especially if you get Morellos. That can be really, really good.
Zyra will be the best and the worst carry you've ever seen in certain rounds when it comes to AP, in my opinion.
True.
She always ults the row with the most people, but the cast time means that people can actually walk out of the ult during the cast time. And, you know, sometimes you're just left with a tank and she's not going to do anything, as we're probably going to see an Ionic Spark.
Oh, yeah.
With this, we have our 3 items. So some people are comfortable slamming here. Trade sector is really nice, especially in the early game. We're going to go ahead and get that. So we're definitely going to be re-rolling here with trade sector. Basically, you get a free roll every single round. So why wouldn't you re-roll, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. It is a bit awkward because like when you get trade sector, you want to like buy out the shop and then you want to re-roll. But this round you're gonna get gold, so you have to wait until you get all the gold, then buy what you want, then re-roll. But the round might be over at any point, right? Depending on how long this PvP round actually lasts. So it looks like Viagra is waiting for the re-roll to happen.
I love those little shady plays you can do in TFT because they're also trolly.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have to specifically be that person in order to make those plays sometimes. But I think this Graves is going to find a lot of value. Actually, really good base attack damage to start. Also, if you want to play a fun but really bad build, only RFCs. On Graves. It's one of the funnier animations you'll see. Lawnmower Graves is a Google term that you will like searching. Speaking of classic TFT, these are some good items here, and I think this is always a good time to kind of bring up the lack of Last Whispers that we've actually seen so far. Last Whisper, Giant Slayer is always kind of like the which one or the other. We actually saw a unit with both earlier. What's kind of your opinion on where we go with some of those? Because again, Giant Slayer seems like the easy choice, but Last Whisper might be a little bit better in the mid game.
Yeah, so both items are going to be pretty bad in the early game, especially because units aren't going to have a lot of resistances to shred through with Last Whisper. They're also not going to have the health, right? Because especially after Giant Slayer to get nerfed, I believe it's 1800 health is the threshold for the super bonus damage. You do get just like a 20%, I believe it is, just baseline from Giant Slayer. But on Jin, which is the unit that we saw both on earlier, I actually do really like that. Jin has backline access with his ultimate. He can shred the front line at the same time, no matter if it is like a tanky Cho'Gath or like a Braum or something, like bodyguards with a lot of armor. I think the Last Whisper, i.e. Giant Slayer, is the best Jin build. However, Last Whisper just feels bad to slam in the early game. Again, same with Giant Slayer. So I think Piba's going to hold on to these components for now, even if he is going to go a Samira, which wants both of those items potentially later on. But no, he does sell the Samira.
Okay, this is the second scrap Alawi that we've seen so far. Today we're going to put 3 scraps in because of that. The 4th scrap is with the Echo, so that's going to be 3 components that can change. And we're going to put it on the Echo. Ezreal going to take a little bit of a break from holding some items. You don't see that every day. Yeah, it's nice he gets to take a little bit of a vacation. Maybe he's getting married.
Maybe. Double Titans are on the front line. Pretty decent. Jewel Gauntlet's like fine for the Echo. Piba, I'm not sure what Piba's options were for the augments, but it makes sense that Piba likes to run scraps. I think if there's something that has a strong early game can allow him to get to this level 8 point and roll down every single bit of gold, people will probably take it, and he has.
I'm not sure Piba understands the function of chairs, but he definitely understands the function of TFT in the early game, right? Maybe in the early game, I was talking about this earlier. It's actually pretty crazy to hear the words. The early game is so important, right? Because again, before it was like, okay, let's just grab our Poppy, right, and just make it through. Everyone kind of has the same opener. Right now, with the augments, everyone inherently has almost, so many more decisions to make in the early game, especially since it comes during a PvE round, which is actually a nice little kind of next level thinking situation, especially since you get a lot of emblems in that round. So um, with these scraps, you're just going to get a lot of value in the mid game, right? There haven't been a lot of just like mid game comps in TFT, but this one is definitely one of those mid game comps. Once single items aren't enough for these units, then they're definitely going to struggle. But
Oh
the Echo
no.
does not ult, and it's going to be the tier 2 Kassadin and Katarina that he almost beat. Because of the scrap trait,
Yeah.
taking him down there. But you really want a win streak here. We've done a lot of investing, and so far it's been a scam.
Yeah, to play for scrap and go loss win loss and have a loss come on the back of a Katarina 2 that you actually almost beat feels real bad. Piba actually sinking even lower in his chair right now. Soon he's going to be off screen if this keeps happening.
You know what's
boy.
actually crazy? He has Scrooge McDuck money under there. You just don't know, right? That's the type of person Piba is, right? Like, I don't know. We call him here in Boulder. There's a lot of people who you would assume don't have a lot of money, and then will like get into their Teslas, right? And it's like, oh, okay, cool. You know, and I think Piba has that kind of mysterious character. What is off the screen?
Who knows?
What are his parents like? Does he have any siblings? I don't know, because I all created a person that I want to know and be friends with.
Exactly. There's so much. There's Piba lore that we just don't know, but we need to at some point figure it out.
True. Yeah. We'll get Gangly to interview him. How about that?
Honestly, so down. Gangly has some great content. I would watch that.
Yeah, that'd be great. But back to the game. It is lobby 4, so we do get a little silly sometimes. Not as silly as the fact that I'm using Microsoft Edge for this.
Yikes. I mean, can I say? Wait, anyways, moving forward. Sphinx is level 6 on 2.5, which is also kind of nutty. But,
I mean, and we're win streaking.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I'd hope so.
Yeah, and the I love to say that because, especially for Sphinx, because, you know, part of me almost, again, there's like a 50-50 chance that he bottoms out, right? We need a top 4. We just have to finish ahead of Agra in order to get to the top 3, right? So that's kind of the person you're looking at. And unfortunately, Agra's in second place right now. It is the early game, so everything's going to shift around here in a sec. But Sphinx doing exactly what Sphinx needs to do to make this happen. As we have a mercenary Graves, we have all our mercenaries. Or 3 to start with right now, as a rat will start plundering potentially. We don't want to accidentally win.
Nope.
Right? Which can happen with this mercenary comp. So for example, this Graves is doing pretty well. Should have at least a unit or 2 out, or maybe not. But
no.
Sometimes with mercenaries, you actually want to position so you lose, right?
Yeah.
You just want to guarantee it. Sometimes you think too hard. You're like, I'm going to lose by 1 unit, and you end up winning like we saw a little earlier. To avoid that, just commit to the loss streak. If you want, that is definitely a choice you can make that is valuable.
Yeah. Piba, or not Piba, Sphinx running 4 Bruiser, 3 Chemtex in the early game. Solid Twitch carry. It falls off really quickly, but it can do well in stage 2. Sphinx also having 20 gold still, while being on level 6 on Krugs is not bad. Has some decent components that are flexible for later. This could be an IE slam, which, yep, there it is. IE, such a good item in this set. And there's a potential Runaan's or Last Whisper. Both are good depending on what carry Sphinx actually wants. But he's in a very, very good spot right now.
We have Talons on the bench, so that's if we want to splash. Okay, we got the Echo. Talon is very good in the mid game. If you're running that Imperial comp, which we actually haven't seen. There's a whole guide on it on Reddit right now if you want to look it up, but we haven't really seen anyone run it that well. It's brand new, so that might be kind of part of the reason. It's not brand new. It's like a couple days. But still, I'm a little surprised we haven't seen more of that because I would love to kind of talk about Swain and how good he can actually be in the front line.
Oh yeah, he's
There's
so
some
good.
really fun things you could do with that comp as well. But we'll see Samira this weekend for sure.
Definitely.
Is what I'm thinking.
Definitely. And just talking more about what we see here on screen from Sphinx, I mean, the reason why he's able to get to this spot is because he got rich get richer at the 1-4 for the augment. So even just playing the game with plus 10 gold there is so nuts. You don't even have to utilize the fact that you can get interest up to 7 now. Like, honestly, that baits some people. You can just play the game with extra 10 gold, level up as aggressively as Sphinx did, and just make sure you get a top 4, right? That's what Sphinx needed to do here, I think, because he got a first, then a fourth, and like a sixth or something, right? So he was tapering off, but I think this is a really good opener to get but get Sphinx back into the top 4 and secure top 3 in the night.
All right, we have something that I haven't really seen that much of, which is the double runins here. So that might be going on 2 separate people later. It works well on almost every challenger. It works well on Urgot. It works really well on Yone, we've seen. So that might end up going on 2 different people. But it's actually working really well right now, especially since Quinn is the strongest unit on that particular board at tier 2. A lot of people think putting items on Quinn might be a little bit of a bait, but in this particular situation, when you're playing specific lobbies like you should in professional environments, that's a totally fine play and might help us stabilize into our next PvE round.
Yeah, definitely. It's very interesting having 3 bows, 2 cloaks, and 2 tiers for all of NYU's components, but Double Ren's is decent. Exile, Stand United, and what's their option? It was Enforcer Heart. Okay. Interesting. Already have 2 Enforcers. It's probably going to be Exiles, Stand United, and it is going to, in fact, be Exiles. Going back to the point of the double Rans as well, I think the comp that I can get the most value in is Urgot Twin Shots, because you can have one on the Urgot, which is best in slot. You can have one on Jinx, which is probably near best in slot, depending on her other items, but is just very good on her. Ooh, we're also seeing, I think, NYU scouting our first Protector reroll player of the night. That is a pretty good comp that pops up from time to time.
Mad inconsistent, though.
Sure.
In terms of trying to push it forward. It's not something that I think you can kind of go in and be like, oh, I'm going to play Protectors. You really can't do that in this set, just in general, because of the Hextech augments. But I'm excited to see it because I love almost every one of the Protector units, just personally as Chris, which is my real name. I mean, as Boop, is
Chris, who's that?
I know, who is that guy?
You are Boop on the internet in the world of esports. That is...
The other day, not the other day, meaning 3 months ago, I was doing an event and all my staff needed to be on a list, and I put them on the list, but my staff needed to give them my name, and one of my staff was like, I don't know your real name, man. He was stuck up in the front of the office, and I was like, I just know Boopasaurus. I have no clue what the other things are going to be, and I'm like, I get that.
It happens. I've not run into the same scenario, but similar ones. I'm like, I don't actually know what your real name is.
My name's Chris, though, so Boop is better because there's so many other Chris's.
And that's true. That distinguishes you.
Exactly, and I like attention, so it totally works out. I went by Topher for a while. I kind of want to go back to that, but NYU Gaming now. NYU has some, I believe, has a esports, at least a club program there, because I feel like I've seen them in the collegiate scene occasionally. You can check me on that if I am wrong, but Jive and Thrive, who's had a little bit of a rough night tonight, actually, which might be really nice. So when I was a music teacher, I always told my kids to not play the day before a recital, right? Because I don't want them to have their good run when no one is watching. Right? You want to peak at the right time. And what's really cool here about Jive and Thrive, if you want to be a half glass full type of person, we are getting our bad games out now. Right? True. And so this weekend we can play cleaner because we've already gotten these out of our system.
Yeah, it's like players say too, like, oh yeah, I ran it down the ladder, but then in tournament, they popped off because they got their bad games out of the way. Didn't use up
right? How we hear that all the time. I actually lost about 300 LP.
Yeah.
Before coming here, I really didn't think I was gonna win, but I ended up doing it. That's pretty cool.
I know it's so frequently actually.
There is actual science behind that that I won't get into, but anything that helps your mental going into a competition is going to be really nice. Other people might take these losses and be like, oh, dang, I'm going to be in trouble this weekend, right?
Yeah.
But I think the correct way in terms of performance for Pitsy and for Jive and Thrive, or sorry, not Pitsy, Erat and Jive and Thrive for this weekend is to do the former, right? Which is, hey, I got my bad games out. I know what not to do going into Saturday, fresh set of games, and I just won't play what I played on Fight Night.
Yep.
Right. And
Pretty
that
much.
might be really good because sometimes putting guardrails on yourself in a situation like a tournament is calming, right? And can help you play better.
Yeah, it definitely can. I think Jive and Thrive has to take that into account one way or another. I mean, with TFT players, I mean, preserving mental is difficult to do.
It's one of
Don't
the most
really
tilting
know.
games in existence, man.
It definitely can be. If you
Yeah.
let it be, it can be, which sometimes it's hard. Jive and Thrive, also, like you were kind of alluding to earlier, this composition is pretty inconsistent. Jive and Thrive is not on best in slot items, is on 32 HP, and is still not even hit any of these tier 3s. Was close to all of them, and now, as we see on the right-hand side, does hit the Kassadin, but still needs the Garen and the Graves. Okay, hits the Graves too. Okay, maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe Jive and Thrive is just gonna hit, just hit and stabilize.
It's still a little late for
It
those
is
tier
a bit
3
late.
units.
32 HP is low.
We may have lost about 15 to 20 more HP than we should have because we were a little slow on it. Maybe we tripped at the start, right? But we're getting on board, and maybe this investment of HP might be enough. I'll never forget Jose almost winning at 7 HP at round 3-4.
Yeah.
Almost won the entire lobby, but we also have a ton of gold here. But the thing about this particular Hextech augment, I think this is what you mean by the bait, is you have more gold, please spend the money. Right? Like a lot of people are just so into the investment, right? And I'm like, you have so much gold, right? Please just spend it.
I do want to say, I think that Simon is in a unique spot where you get away with holding this much because of the combination of running scrap plus binary drop that takes an item and a half and turns it into 3 completed items. So that's just so much value. The board is strong because of that, right? That's why I think Simon's able to still be at 68 HP, which isn't at the top with Sphinx and Viagra, but still it's not terrible. This round, of course, doesn't go their way, and they're at 71 gold, though, so they're making real big use out of this, +7 interest. The thing is, what are they going to hit on their level 8 roll down, though?
Hopefully everything, because we need to. Right now, we have some good units on the bench as we can move back over to Agra, and we have our first TF item holder here with some syndicates. Syndicate 7, I think, is the only good syndicate right now, but Syndicate 5 might be on the menu here. I am a little concerned. Yes, we are currently in first place, but if there is a comp that falls off, it is this one. Just look at all those carries there. All the high cost units for syndicates up until Akali are tanks. So your damage dealers are going to be your TF and your Zyra, who is in the front line, who's going to help with the back line there. But we'll see how long this TF goes for. That was a lot of damage coming in from the Malzahar, I think, at the end of the day. Shield from Vex, so frustrating. I've lost so many rounds like that.
Yeah, this Vex is really good mid game, even decent in the late game to carry with just kind of whatever semblance of tank items that you can get. Like, that's a ZZ-Rot Ionic Gargoyles, which is like just a mismatch of items, but again, really, really good. Viagra also is in a spot where they have a Scholar Heart plus the trade sector, so they're not committed into any specific direction. They can still pivot to a slew of different things. I think the main thing that's limiting Viagra right now is the item slamming, and that's going to be, of course, AP items between the Ionic, Shojin, and the Death Cap. Victor would be a nice transition. We still could consider, I think, Lux as well, which there is one on the bench. Again, it just depends on what Viagra hits.
Yeah, those aren't bad Akali items either.
Yeah, that's true. Could go
if he's going to go for that other syndicate, because you're going to replace a syndicate with a syndicate usually. But I mean, like, there's just no front line right now. This is exactly, I think, what a lot of us expected to happen once we saw that board. We were literally at 90 HP 2 rounds ago.
Yeah.
right? So this is an issue, right? And I want everyone to kind of recognize that, hey, sometimes at 4-1 you can have a huge lead and you don't hit, right? You have money in your wallet and you're not hitting just yet. Maybe we're losing on purpose, just like some people lose in the early game to try to streak. You can start doing that here in 4-1, 4-2, going into 5-1 so you can get back to 50 gold is usually what happens. But where we are with aggro, we're just going to need to hit there at the end. We have a couple options. We have 3 options, right? But sometimes analysis paralysis can happen too. And hopefully we avoid all of that.
Grabs a Shaco. So if this is going to be the roll down right now, needs to hit the Akali to have 5 Syndicate. Can even still sell the TF. Okay, does actually just sell the Shaco. So never mind. Maybe not a 5 Syndicate option. But now the reels are going to start. We're going to land on. It is a pair of Lux.
I miss when
stop there. Maybe.
I miss when her ultimate was Finale's Funkine. Or whatever German word it was. It was like a niche, like apparently it was a real song by like an artist or something like that, but it was like way too niche to keep it in the game. Okay, so here we go. These are pretty good Lux items. At least we have some AP. These auto attacks with the Shojins. You don't old school Shojins, you would need to ult and then get the value. This version of Shojins you get just right away. And we need one shots with Lux, right? Or we need something like a Jinx to butter him up so Lux can take him down, right? Jinx is the heat and Lux is the knife in that situation, but you have to enable the knife, right?
Yep. A lot of awkward synergy numbers here. 3 scrap, 3 scholar, 3 bodyguards for Viagra. Did win the round though, so stabilizes for now on 69 HP. But now we get to see the 3rd and final augment, and that is going to be a tier 2 augment, Cram Session, a good Lux augment.
The Lux augment.
The Lux augment.
Yeah. So that's where you get like a tank Lux. You can build all battle damage items, and she will be able to tank a frustratingly large amount of damage. Buying units, I mean, when you buy units like that, some people are going to be rolling down potentially. At least those won't be on the board. Flipping some things. Oh no, Jace is a little bit of a kryptonite, it feels like. We don't when Jace seems to enter the field, we are doing a lot of repositioning here. I like putting him in the corner too. And we've seen how good Jace is in terms of getting backline access somehow, especially when he's in the front line.
That is true. He can, he can get his way through the front line. With no items, it is a bit harder to do that. A lot of the damage is going to come through via the Lux, and the Giant Slayer is still on the bench. Viagra really wants to greed out for a better 3rd item, but okay, this is the Protector player. This Drive and Thrive has hit all of the units and has Assassin Yone with the Rageblade Runeheads. If he was tier 2, that'd be fantastic. It is still good enough.
Look at this cat, though. No items.
Yeah, that's a good unit, even though
yes. AoE ability, right? Just like Misfortune, right? When you have that the option of AoE, you're just better than some other units in particular matchups, not all the time.
Yeah.
As some other units are really fast, like a Yone that might not even be hit. Think Zigzolt all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Do not Rissa's meme of Ziggs not ever making a basket in basketball is so funny to me. I think he misses more than he doesn't. But yeah, we have the double Runins on the Yone this time around with a Hand of Justice. We haven't seen this combination just yet, but Hodge is going to have to be as much of a defensive item as it can for this Yone.
Healing. No Rageblade on it. Yeah, double Runins is interesting. I wonder if NYU does roll into a Yone. Do they then sell the Quinn, put the Rageblade on the Yone, and just try to pop off one of the Runins? Maybe. And even if you pop off the Hodge, it's still fine, I think. But
wow.
How's it gonna go? Okay.
We had so many swords.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, none of them get to go into where they need to.
Okay, it's just gonna make it actually.
Okay, this is good. This is good. Okay, so we finally get to use our swords here. Deathblade on any of these challengers will be fine. We're not gonna get any more items, so you can expect a Deathblade to be made. We are gonna combine for that tier 2 Yone. This is a pretty good roll down. The Fiora in the backline is actually gonna do some work. I wonder where the Rageblade will end up going.
Went on to the Fiora. Fiora, Rageblade, Deathblade.
there it is.
It's yeah, it's not amazing. It's okay. The main thing here for this board is that it's awkward to position because you have Yumi wanting to go on a specific unit, then you also have Exiles, and of course you want the Exiles shield. A-Rat is, however, farming components right now with this Tom Kench. This Tom Kench is, yeah, he's a hungry boy. He's getting eating his fill right now.
What do you think Tom Kench would feel about Bubblegum Shrimp Co? Just do you think yummy, or do you think
probably
my family? You know, like
it's I mean, Tom Kench eats Tom Kench. He'll do it. It's not like he says, "No, I don't want to eat this unit." Like
he'll just deal with it later.
I'll just do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like going to Casa Bonita here in Colorado, which everyone should do, especially since the creators of South Park actually just bought it. Which I'm so excited about. Cliff Divers inside, Sopapillas. Anyway, I really like the Gargoyle Stone Plate on a lot of these frontline units. It seems to be added on kind of when you have a couple of components left over. But with these tanks, again, it's just something that will give you stats. And on certain tanks, it does really well, especially regeneration tanks.
Yeah. Oh my god, this Tom Kench is not. He's eating so many things and getting so much AP with all these items. And A-Rat's running 5 mercenaries, so he's just farming components every round as well. Look how many components this board actually has. Or full items, right? It has, this is, okay, 9, 10, 11, 12 completed items? Yeah.
That's 2 whole hands.
That is... Yup.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's 2 whole hands of items right there, everyone.
Crazy.
Insane in the membrane for sure. Yeah, this is gonna go well for our friend Arat, especially since we have really good items on the Urgot. Like, not only do we have items, we have good items. We have CC immunity because of the Trap Claw on that Thief's Gloves roll. So we actually take away some of the damage from the Lux. Unfortunately, positioning diff here for the Urgot, but look at this Dr. Mundo. That is a lot of health. That is not a lot of damage coming from the Mundo, but doesn't matter. Are we just going to win by attrition if we're able to get an ult right? Oh, there it is, a crit.
Like the ult
yeah, and so like if basically that was going to be a win anyway if Lux ults before overtime. When you're up against tanks like that, you kind of depend on that overtime to help you out sometimes.
Ooh, A-Rat finds a Jace with a Thieves Gloves on the carousel. Jive and Thrive did go out in 6th as well. Pitsy, maybe the next one to be eliminated on 7 HP. But, man, just this board. Mercenary is too good. Not much else to say about it.
It's very good. And those gambling traits, when they're good, are really good, usually. It's a win more situation, especially if you start winning with mercenaries. You're just going to continue going. There isn't a lot of a catch-up mechanic if you get too far ahead on mercenaries. Don't go mercenaries 7, because just like Duelist 8 was, it actually will make you lose, I think. But the Duelist mercenary 5 is fine. Mercenary 3 is fine too, especially in the early game.
Mercenary 5 has been abandoned for A-Rat, now just Mercenary 3. Just Mercenary 3, you know, still running in the late game. MF is just the Thieves Gloves holder. I think A-Rat considered selling the MF, but was like, you know what, it's still fine. It's a decent enough roll. Yone getting taken out from NYU. A-Rat definitely setting themselves up for a lobby winning position. Itzy, however, does hang on, and the top of the lobby does fall, so might see some HP stabilization, and the lobby kind of level itself out here in the end game.
Ooh, Sphinx making me eat my words, which I love when players do that. We got the tier 2 Yuumi with the Archangels too. So the second Yuumi ult is going to be pretty good. Actually, the first Yuumi ult should get 2 procs of it. But what we're seeing right now is a really big deal for Sphinx and Agra, who are tied in 3rd place right now. Agra with the Syndicate opening, we saw the beginning of this fall, and it still hasn't stopped, unfortunately. So we were at 90 HP just 8 rounds ago. Now we're at 18 and potentially on Elimination Station when we start round 6.
Elimination Station, quickly approaching a lot of these players. Oh, this Yuumi, though, the Yuumi ult CCs at the perfect time, allowing Urgot to clean up the rest of NYU's board. Sphinx in a very, very good spot. 51 HP, has 5 Chemtech, 4 Bruiser board. So good.
Agra did lose 2 people at single-digit HP. It looks like NYU seems pretty locked up for first place, but we'll do the rest of the math when the people who are good at math will do it.
Yeah,
we have,
we don't math.
yeah, particularly us. Math hard. NA math really rings true here. But this dragon has no chance against this team. But round 6 one's going to be pivotal for a couple of our players, specifically Agra. That is definitely the most consequential lobby board in the board in the lobby right now, because that's going to have the most effect on our top 3.
Top 3 we're going to see very, very soon. By Agra, just been plummeting in HP. Might even go up in 5th. Oh, we saw an Akali board, actually. Okay. So that was an Akali pivot that actually happened.
Yeah, that is why we're still losing. Akali 2 is really good when you're able to get it, and against certain team comps, especially ones with not a lot of range, Akali can actually be really great for you as they kind of chase her around everywhere.
Yeah.
But that doesn't seem to be the case. We'll take a look at Agra and see if he survives this round, but we're looking at Sphinx right now, and the Urgot has started to ramp up, and the Victor ult comes through, and Urgot actually only takes one of the lasers, kills the Lux before you eat the ult, and Sphinx will get some gold out of that as well.
Get some gold, get some elimination. Here we go. There's the top 3 by Agra out in 5th. Pitsy out in 4th. NYU, A-Rat. Sphinx left, and yeah, I believe that does lock up the win here for NYU.
It should lock up Sphinx for top 3, 2. So we definitely know part of the picture as we move over to NYU and this double Rune and Zione. Whenever you see off builds this successful, usually means the unit is really good. Right, so the fact that we've been able to see a couple different versions of the Yone, yeah, some of them have been better than others, but the fact that they've all pretty much been top 4 kind of just tells you that it's a good unit.
Yeah, definitely. Going up against now is the Jace 2 and Victor 2 in the back line. I mean, Yone is good. So many shots from each melee, but just not good enough.
Man, once that Victor ults, right? Once you let the Victor ult, it's over. In my opinion, unless you get like those crazy, I've seen units like crazy sidestep all 3 of the lasers. But when that Victor ults, half your team is dead. It's gonna happen, and hopefully your carry hasn't already been eliminated or isn't already at half health. That's what you want to try to avoid. The ZZ Rot is one of the worst rolls you can get for a backline unit. Funny though, if we win with a Victor with like 10 extra HP, it's going to be because of the ZZ Rot.
Yep, I got up against a clone army of Sphinx, it looks like, but some decent positioning, I think, on this Urgot. Does get Zac stunned. Mundo Hello pulled into the clump, and that's actually a really good spot for him. Again, I think it's A-Rat just going to be taking the dub here. This Tom Kench farming so many components that A-Rat's army, it has more units, it has more items, it has more everything. Right now, it's so
you know how
powerful.
we talked about the Sphinx is really good at making vanilla. This is what the Sunday looks like.
Oh yeah,
right.
This is the Sunday with every single topping. You just loaded it all on there.
Even or one of those like cotton candy burritos that I've seen out there. I would never eat one, but it's a cotton candy with ice cream wrapped on the inside. I don't even know how science-wise that even works. Cotton candy gets wet, doesn't it go away? But anyway. It exists. It's in Vegas. You can try it.
Oh, I'll be going there soon, so maybe I'll keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're like a 5-year-old kid, I bet that is awesome. You know what I mean? But it's like when you're a kid, if it's blue, it probably is awesome to eat, right? As opposed to an adult where I'm like, is this gluten-free?
Oh, but you gotta worry about so much. Getting old is overrated. It sucks.
Oh man, my knees hurt, like for real. It's harder to like go to sleep. Anyway, we've got 3 people remaining. NYU, Sphinx, and a rat. A rat definitely looking like the potential winner of this lobby. Just look at how much HP is on that board. And even before the Urgot can get going, almost half of his front line is gone. But we actually have a little bit of a comeback right now. But the Victor ult comes through. That's going to be it. Whoa, actually 1 HP for Sphinx. Will NYU survive this round? It is up against a Ghost. sniper emblem
Yeah.
on Yuumi is actually really good, by the way, especially if you have another sniper, because Yumi's usually the furthest unit away. We have good roll actually on the Victor utility wise, not
Yeah.
and we get the Jinx too. So a rat not even at full power yet, still dominating.
How how much better can this board get? I mean, not much, right? Just some more emblems, but this board is about as capped as you can get. There is a Tom Kench 2, Jace 2, Jinx 2, Victor 2, just for legendaries, let alone all the other 4 costs. This is just cleaning up the garbage right now. A-Rat's going to clean up Sphinx's board. Not that it's garbage, but it feels like it comparatively.
He's the last guy in the arena, right? You know, the one that gets to lock up, take a look back at his arena and be like, it's clean.
Yeah, there we go.
This is a clean win from a rat. Yeah, very clean, very good play. That lobby was always the strongest, pretty much, from the mid game. Sphinx did a really good job. Love seeing the second place there, securing that top 3. And I think that's going to be really good for his mental going into the weekend, ending with a good round there for this lobby.
You know, you know Sphinx probably the best out of most other TFT people. Would you say Sphinx's mental does a little bit of a roller coaster? Does it go up and down? Like, is this, if he lost this week, like if he went 8th, like would he have taken a big mental hit into the Piltover Cup?
I think that would have been a possibility. I have seen him get into his head. He's gotten a lot better at it, but that is a possibility. Okay. But I don't think that's going to happen anymore. As I hear, we have our final scores.
All right, let's take a look here. We of course know NYU or New. I actually don't exactly know how to pronounce it, but we'll find out in the interview because they're going to be our Fight Night Rising victor for this week. Sphinx in 2nd place, did finish off the day strong in atypical Sphinx fashion, but nice to see him do it. And A-Rat, with that victory, actually secures the top 3 and takes it away from Agra. And in 4th is Agra, then Piba, Jive and Thrive, Simon, and Pitsy down the line. But A-Rat, some wonderful mercenary play, making it to the top 3, so we will see them again next week.
Yeah, unfortunately for Agra, I think the loss that we saw was just a foreshadow of what was to come.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it wasn't that good. But congratulations to NYU, it's Sphinx and a rat, because this was a pretty good lobby. Like we said, 4 of these players are going to be here this weekend for Piltover Cup. And I believe 2 of them did make the top 3. So that's pretty good for them if you're thinking about it. And this should help them with their strategies going into this weekend too, seeing, hey, 27 points, that's probably enough to get into day 2. Maybe I play similarly this weekend. I've already gone through one of these rehearsals. Maybe the second rehearsal or the performance day is going to be enough. As unfortunately, we don't get an interview. Do you want to do one, like pretend?
as me, me, or
yeah. Okay, you'll be NYU. Okay.
Oh.
So yeah. Okay, so NYU, congratulations on a wonderful Fight Night victory. You were pretty good throughout the entire day so far. Lots of top 4s. What do you owe your success to?
I owe my success to mercenaries. They're very good. Wait, just kidding. That was a rat. Just kidding. Interviews already scuffed, but consistency is the key. Didn't bot 4. There we go. Consistency. Consistent play.
What are some other like TFT questions? So, what is your preference? Do you like a 1st or 8th play style, or do you like doing a consistent top 4?
That's a good question for TFT players. Probably the consistency, of course. I mean, NYU, it did get a 1st once, but the other games were 2nd and 3rd. Or I guess if I'm NYU, yeah, I got 3rd and 2nd and 1st only. So consistent play, definitely up there.
Well, congratulations, NYU, once again. Do you have a stream that you want to shout out for any of your fans?
Oh, yes, it is NYU Gaming TV. Go follow on Twitch TV. Hopefully they do stream some more, so that'd be nice to go check out.
And I only wanted to do that because I wanted to highlight NYU played really well today, and I think like we needed to talk about it. And while we were memeing a little bit, I want to do that the next time we don't have an interview. I'll be the interviewee next time. Yeah, that was a fun improv exercise. I like that a little too much, but just wanted to say NYU played really well, really consistent, mad consistent, especially against this lobby when the player that is Chaos is in it as well. So really good work from NYU at the end of the day. And hopefully if you hover over the Twitch screen on PC, You'll see everyone's Twitch info. It does look like NYU Gaming is there, so please, everyone, hover over, follow everyone that is there. I still have my Halloween picture up, but everyone that participated today is listed there, and you can follow them as you please.
Yep, definitely. Make sure to do that. All the support and these up and coming rising stars is going to be well appreciated because we can see players that come out from Fight Night do really well and might even impress in some bigger TFT competition like the Piltover Cup that's going to be starting. I believe it's even starting tomorrow. Not streams tomorrow, but the competition does start. Will be streamed on Saturday and Sunday, however, and this is the start. Like set 6, even if players were not, I think, looking to compete in, set 4 or 5, like taking a break, set 6, as we mentioned earlier, has caught everybody's interest and they've looked upon it very favorably. So I think this is going to be the most intense set of TFT competition for esports wise that we've ever seen. I feel like I said every single set, but like it's so true. The competition just keeps on leveling up more and more. But yeah, Oop, last
Yeah.
thoughts on the day before we sign on out of here.
Well, number one, you'll see both of us this weekend, which is
True.
going to be really exciting to see who the best TFT players in the world are right now. And the first ones are always really intense because, the energy is still new. Everyone's going after it. And again, 4 of our players are going to be there that you saw today. And the other thing I'm actually really, really stoked for is kind of seeing how other things shape up. Are we going to see more protectors that day? Are we going to see maybe
True.
some more econ with the Yordles? But a lot can be said for the future. But as of right now, I'm having a great time. And I had a great time casting these lobbies today. And that last lobby that we saw was stacked at the end. Oh, man. Warmogs on Dr. Mundo, so good. But, we'll see everyone again on Saturday.
Yeah, we will see everyone competing. The 4 players in this lobby competing on hopefully Saturday. Hopefully they make it through Friday of competition. Would like to see some Fight Night Rising players have success, but you'll see both of us casting the Piltover Cup, and Fight Night Rising will return next week. But until then, it's been Khroen and Boop bringing you Fight Night Rising by Wisdom. Take care, have a good night, and hopefully you high roll in your TFT games.